Hello, I'm Simon Adebisi and welcome to highlights of the 2012 Formula SimRacing World Championship. Round 6 of the championship is the British Grand Prix, taking place around the historical Silverstone circuit. This track is commonly referred to as the home of British motor racing and has seen multiple configuration changes during its 60-year history. As well as several straights and many medium to high-speed corners, the current version also incorporates the slower infield arena section and provides the drivers with a wide variety of corners. Surprise news this week with the shock transfer of Morgan Moran, who has left the ATR team due to conflict with its manager and has now joined the Go Speed Racing team. Woodwiss once again blitzed the field in qualifying, gaining pole position by more than 0.3 of a second. ATR's reserve driver Jeffrey Reutefeldt pulled a big surprise to set the second fastest time in only his second ever WC appearance. With his new team, Moran achieved a strong result for third, as did Twister's Fredrik Nilsson in fourth place. Stoffel Vandoorne completed a good result for fifth, just ahead of his sister teammate Uros Musculi in sixth, who set his best ever qualifying result. John-Eric Saxon set the seventh fastest time, and for the third time in a row, GT Amiga Racing got both of their cars inside the top 10, with Rasmus Tali in 8th and Reino Rube in 9th. Jim Paresis just made it into the second qualifying session in 10th place. Martin Gosby would have to settle for 11th at his home Grand Prix, beating out Peter Burlak in 12th and Jarkko Mikkonen in a disappointing 13th. The McCord team struggled, with Patrick de Witt only able to set the 14th fastest time, and on his return after a 3-race absence, David Greco qualified in 15th. To the race start, Reutefeldt had a dreadful reaction to the lights, allowing Moran to easily cruise past. Vandoorne had a great launch and sneaked up Nilsson's inside to take fourth. With a better drive through turn 1, Moran challenged Huis into maggots and the Frenchman prevailed, forcing Huis to yield and relinquish the top spot. As the field snaked its way into Beckett's, things got ugly at the back when Chatsi Pantelis closed the door on Greco and he span, colliding with Gobi and causing Bayliss to lock up and spin off the track. Fortunately, Greco had no damage and Bayliss was able to keep his engine running. However, Gobi had lost his front wing and Chatsi Pantelis stalled in the grass. Down into Vale and there was plenty of side-by-side action. Saxon challenged Nilsson for fifth with the outside line around Club and came out on top. And meanwhile, Room and Paresis fought it out, with Room barely managing to hold on to his position. Nilsson then lost another place, with Rasmus Tali making an outside pass into Brooklands, and further behind, de Witt and Burlak were aggressively fighting for 11th position. After the first lap, Morgan Moran was leading the Grand Prix ahead of Bono Huis and the two ATR cars driven by Jeffrey Reutefeldt and Stoffel Vandoorne. Saxon was now in 5th ahead of Tali in 6th and Nilsson in 7th. Further behind, Patrick de Witt then attacked Paresis into Vale, but Burlak jumped on the opportunity to get on the inside. Unnecessary contact was made, pushing de Witt onto the grass, dropping him back to 12th. Lap 3, and a rare mistake from Rasmus Tali sent the Estonian spinning off the track, dropping the GT Amiga driver all the way down into 18th. Further behind, Burlak continued an aggressive charge, passing Jim Paresis into Stowe to move up into 9th. Patrick de Witt then also tried to jump on Paresis, but Mikkonen got involved, and with the 3 cars abreast through Club, de Witt lost out. The resulting bottleneck caused an unfortunate contact between Varga and Gosby, with the resulting damage prompting Martin Gosby to pit, ending any hope of a good result at his home Grand Prix. Patrick de Witt then tried to make a surprise pass into the arena, but Mikkonen was caught unawares and contact was made, resulting in de Witt stalling his engine, recording his first DNF of the season. More action in the midfield occurred 2 laps later when Jim Paresis attacked Burlak, but the Croatian didn't see Paresis coming and both cars lost control. Mikkonen happily passed both drivers to move up into 9th, with Peter Varga moving ahead of Paresis for 11th. At the front of the race, things were heating up, with Huis putting Moran under plenty of pressure. With a superior run out of the final corner, Huis used the toe and made a daring inside move. Moran broke early and tried to switch back to the other side, with the cars narrowly missing each other by a hair's width. The pair went side by side into maggots, but Huis stood his ground and ended up in front, back into the top spot. Down in 6th place, Fredrik Nilsson was clearly struggling with his pace and he was being forced to defend hard against Uros Musculi. A train quickly formed behind them and on lap 8, three drivers got their entry into Copse wrong, with Burlak narrowly avoiding a collision with Jarkko Mikkonen. Burlak moved up further into 8th position with a classy outside pass on Reino Room through Brooklands. Mikkonen soon followed suit, passing Room into Maggots. Meanwhile, Rasmus Tali was making a fast recovery as both Gergo Baldi and Davigreco struggled with traction. Musculi eventually prevailed over a struggling Nilsson, passing the Swede into Stowe for 6th. On lap 10, the first round of stops began. While Huis extended his lead over Moran, back in 3rd place Jeffrey Reitveld was held up as Giuseppe Marconi pitted, and Stoffel Vandoorne capitalised on the situation, passing his teammate into the opening corner. Saxon remained in a lonely 5th place, but otherwise the field order completely changed, with those pitting early seemingly gaining a big advantage. Fredrik Nilsson's day got worse as he was one of the last to pit and he missed his pit box, emerging way down in 13th place. Jim Parisas' early stop advanced the Greek driver up into 6th, and Rasmus Tali continued his strong recovery, taking 7th place away from Jarkko Mikkonen on track. Reino Room was having a bad day at the office, challenging Varga with a bold pass and losing out badly, dropping down into 14th place. On lap 20, it became apparent that several drivers had opted for a 4-stop strategy, including race leader Bono Huis. Parisas, Tali and Mikkonen also pitted, somewhat explaining their relatively quick pace. Huis still had 2 more stops to make, but he had created a large gap to Morgan Moran and was lapping substantially faster. John-Eric Saxon had also opted for a 4-stop strategy, and he had leaped ahead of the ATR duo of Vandoorne and Reitveld, but the faster-than-speed car would need to set an amazing pace to hold on to the position. Parisas remained in a comfortable 6th, ahead of Tali in 7th. Jarkko Mikkonen was in 8th place, and not far behind, the 3-stopping Uros Musculi was now in 9th, with Gergo Baldi in 10th and Peter Burlak in 11th. In the midfield, Nilsson's 3-stop strategy was being further compromised as he was held up by Peter Varga, and the Twister racer made a crucial but highly aggressive overtake into Brooklands to get out into some free air. Reino Room followed not long after, jumping on a small mistake from the Hungarian. Bono Huis came into pit lane for his 3rd stop, and he emerged out in 4th position. However, as he closed in on Vandoorne and Reitveld, his strategy suddenly looked to have hit a speed bump, with the Dutchman needing to clear both ATR cars on track as soon as possible. But the defending world champion had no difficulty whatsoever, quickly passing Reitveld up the inside into turn 1, and on the following lap, using a tow and his fresh tyres to make an easy pass on Vandoorne into Stowe. Morgan Moran would now have to drive to the limit, and after making his final trip into the pits, Huis was just 19 seconds out in front, but he still had another stop yet to make. While there was little overtaking happening on track, Fredrik Nilsson crucially passed teammate Peter Burlak for what was theoretically a virtual 11th place. Back in the free air, Nilsson began to set much faster lap times, catching those ahead of him. As the last of the drivers made their stops, the true order of the field began to take shape. Morgan Moran just managed to beat Bono Huis as the precision driver left pit lane, but the Frenchman would have it all to do, knowing that Huis was on a softer set of fresh tyres. Stoffel Vandoorne and Jeffrey Reitveld remained together in 3rd and 4th, and John-Eric Saxon looked certain to take 5th place. Jim Parisas emerged from the pits in 6th, just ahead of Uros Musculi and Fredrik Nilsson. Musculi and Nilsson had both leaped ahead of Rasmus Tali, but they were on the harder, more worn tyres, and Tali was hot on their heels. Nilsson made a rare mistake through Beckett's, nearly sliding off the track and handing his place to Tali. The Estonian then wasted no time, challenging Musculi down the hanger straight and pulling off an aggressive outside pass around Stowe to take 7th place. Fredrik Nilsson was soon attacking Musculi as well, and the Twister driver made an almost identical pass around the outside of Stowe to take 8th. Further behind, Jarkko Mikkonen had been leaped by Burlak, but as Mikkonen had fresher tyres, he was able to quickly catch the Croatian. Burlak desperately defended his 9th place, but after sustained pressure, the precision driver managed to make an aggressive pass into Brooklands. The Finn then carried on his strong pace and hunted down Musculi, making another bold pass into the arena section to gain 9th place. At the front of the race, it was clear who had the fresher tyres, with Huis all over the back of Moran. The Go Speed driver did everything he could to keep in front, but with 10 laps still remaining, it would be a tall order for Moran to keep Huis at bay. Huis made several attempts and Moran desperately defended his position, but eventually Huis gained a strong run onto the hanger straight, and after a near collision, Huis moved to the outside, passing Moran to retake the race lead. Moran had no answer, and Huis quickly disappeared into the distance. Taking win number 5 for the 2012 season, Bono Huis crossed the line 7 seconds clear of his main rival, winning the British Grand Prix on a 4-stop strategy. Although slightly disappointed, Morgan Moran finished in a much-needed second place, keeping his championship hopes alive and demonstrating that he is just as competitive with his new GoSpeed team. And rounding off the top 3, Stoffel Van Dorn claimed his second podium in just his 4th career start, achieving a very impressive result. Jeffrey Reitfeld crossed the line in an amazing 4th place in only his 2nd ever WC race. John-Eric Saxon continued his strong consistency, finishing a lonely race in 5th, and Jim Paresis demonstrated a return to form with an impressive 6th. Despite a spin on lap 3, Rasmus Tali clawed his way back up to 7th with a great drive. Fredrik Nilsson recovered after struggling badly in the first stint to claim 8th. Jarkko Miekkinen would have to settle for 9th. AT Racing driver Uros Musculi was penalised after he was found to have driven outside the track limits on more than a quarter of his laps. This meant Peter Burlak was promoted to 10th, salvaging the final point. Bono Huis is now 60 points ahead of Morgan Moran, but with 9 rounds still remaining, Moran still has an outside chance to catch the defending world champion. Fredrik Nilsson has held on to 3rd, but Rasmus Tali is just 3 points behind. Saxon, Van Dorn, De Wit, Baldi and Miekkinen are all now separated by just 3 points, with all drivers in a strong position. Paresis' great result has put the Greek driver back into the picture, tied with Lapchan in 10th. Despite taking the win, Precision Motorsports equalled ATR's points haul at Britain, with a gap remaining at 80 points. GT Amiga and Twister both picked up few points today, remaining in their respective positions, as do Matcore and Netrex, both of which failed to score today. GoSpeed Racing achieved their best team result since 2008, with the 2nd and 6th place, jumping them ahead of both Faster Than Speed and AT Racing. The next race will be the Grand Prix of Hungary, and you can watch that race live as it happens at SimRace TV on the 15th of July at 4 PM GMT. You can also check out Formula Sim Racing on both Facebook and Twitter, and you can join in on the FSR Fantasy League by following the link on screen. We hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I'm Simon Adebisi, and we'll see you in 4 weeks' time after the summer break for the next round of the 2012 Formula Sim Racing World Championship.
Good afternoon all, and welcome to round 7 of the Formula Sim Racing 2012 World Championship, live on simrace.tv from the Hungaroring in Hungary. And with me today, Nick Rowland in the commentary box, is Liam Jenkins and Scott Woodwiss. Liam, come to you first. How are you doing after the summer break?
Yeah, it's been really nice. I think all the drivers seem to be relaxing and everything, but what's going to be interesting, if you remember back to this time last season, it was ATR who made the best breakthrough. Of course, Morgan Moran giving Huis one of the races of his life in Spa. Do you reckon, maybe some of the other teams will be doing that today? Half season, you can never really predict what the other teams have done, and this is the first real opportunity for the drivers to compete with other people than their teammates. So I think there could be some unusual names in the top 10 today.
Absolutely, and I will also welcome Scott Woodwiss as my third commentator today. Good afternoon to you, Scott.
Afternoon, Nick. Afternoon, Liam. It's hello, everyone. Good to be back for the World Championship after the summer break, and got some new faces in here, some altered lineups today, and it should be quite intriguing to see how it gets on. Also, we've got 1 or 2 cars using new teams using new chassis as well, so there seems to be lots of new things. And also, it's quite good to see everyone when they're joining the server. It's kind of like they're just coming back to school. It's not like they hadn't seen each other for a while, and it's kind of only but it feels like forever. So, but yeah, good to have the World Championship back in full swing once again.
Absolutely, and well, you join us around this 4.31 kilometre circuit where Bono Huis has dominated for the past 2 seasons, in 2010 and 2011. And as the two lads, Liam and Scott, were alluding to, there has been a few changes during this 3-week period, 4-week period off during the summer break. And the changes predominantly have come from the ATR side. ATR have actually switched their management, and in doing so, they've actually lost one of their drivers in Jeffrey Rietveld. So Jeffrey Rietveld has moved from ATR management across to GT Omega. So that's the one big piece of news. Obviously, just prior to the summer break, they lost Morgan Moran to Go Speed Racing, and now Jeffrey Rietveld has also departed and moved across into GT Omega. That now leaves within the ATR management crew Yannick Lapchin as the main driver now, and we then also have, it will be Stefan Kanitz as the second driver, I believe, for the ATR management team. A few other little bits of news. Faster Than Speed are just 5 races off 200 starts in World Championship Racing, which is a superb and fantastic effort from them. Yeah, just in 5 races time they will reach that elusive 200 marker. A few other bits as well. We've got Jack Keithley has jumped up into the second seat at Precision Motorsports. So Jack Keithley will drive alongside championship leader Bono Huis, who won last time out at Silverstone. And also we have 2 debutants racing for Ash Racing in the shape of Lepola and Simicic have jumped into the World Championship seats for Ash Racing as we are well into the first part of qualification here.
Yeah, so also just a bit of inside information on Simincic as well. I mean, of course, in the World Series yesterday, he came in 4th position. His strategy was very elusive. Not many people kind of predicted it. He was stopping a good 4 or 5 times and stopped around 3 laps from the end as well, and unfortunately surrendered a podium, really. But it'll be interesting to see if he keeps that strategy today, and if some of the World Championship guys are watching, because that did seem to be an effective strategy in terms of getting the jump on people. But I think, you know, 70 laps of this track is very enduring for the cars. It's all going to come down to strategy. So, but to start well from there, you need a good grip position. And right now, Bono Huis and Morgan Moran, the 2 guys still at the front of the field in qualifying 1 at the moment. Moran just 0.008 of a second away from Bono Huis, who hasn't run away since the actual start of the season. So he'll be looking to regain his step on the top of the podium. But to do that, he'll have to go through current leader Bono Huis.
Yep, absolutely, and we've actually seen Morgan Moran do a quicker time than that in the practice session. He was down to a 17.3, so we'll have to wait and see if he's able to go quick. He may not show his hand in this particular session. Obviously the top 10 will progress to a top 10 qualifying shootout, where they'll go out lap by lap and have 1 qualifying lap run. And just on the situation of the strategies for today, they seem to be quite differing and large amounts of strategies because of the tyre wear sacrificed around this circuit, the Hungarian circuit. Then they are looking between 4 and 6 stops in this race. Apparently it's going to take someone very, very ambitious on their tyre wear to do a 3. So we're going to be pushing up in and around 4 to 6 stops in this World Championship race. And I think that's going to cause a lot of commotion when it comes to the pit stops and very short spurts in terms of stints as well, because they're going to be pitting in and around, well, every 10, 12 to 14 laps. So it's going to be a very, very fast-paced, intense, short, sharp racing here for the duration of the laps around the Hungarian circuit, which is 70 laps. So I think you're going to be aiming in around about 12 to 14 laps each time.
Yeah,
just a couple of things. Sorry, just a couple of things I noticed. I think just a correction on ATR. I think actually it's Eros Masculi in the second car alongside Yannick Lapchin. I think Stefan Kanitz is still in the AT racing car. Couple of other points. I noticed Villa Lapala is a very decent driver. He won the World Trophy yesterday for Ghost Speed. He actually dominated from series leader Peter Burlack, and it should be quite intriguing to see how he gets on with that one. And a couple of the drivers I think have taken my attention as well. Also, be interesting. Morgan Rantag on top actually. He's 1:17.298. So definitely he seems to be more comfortable in the new chassis, because we said that Ghost Speed have a new chassis. They're using for this mod the Red Bull chassis instead of the Ferrari one. He seems to be enjoying it a bit more because he's now just gone top and actually quit quite about a 10th or so quicker than Bono Huis. So maybe that could play into his advantage today.
Yes, a couple of teams have changed chassis, which in this particular series doesn't usually make a huge amount of difference. It's the immersion factor you feel with it. So rather than looking down maybe a Ferrari nose, looking down a Red Bull nose, and that immersion factor can almost make you feel a little bit more comfortable in your surrounding. And it's actually the Ghost Speed team that have switched into that Red Bull, and also with a new livery on their car also. So it's going to be a very interesting race for the Ghost Speed outfit, who are all things new since this obviously this summer break. They had Morgan Moran in for the last race at Silverstone, and now they've reshaped the team to move forwards into the second half of the season with a new chassis, new livery, and looks like they're raring to go, because Morgan Moran is currently setting some wonderful times. and was trying to leap himself up higher. Well, he's just actually gone higher. He did a 17.2, and I said before he did 17.3 in the practice session. He's now done a 17.298, which is a tenth quicker than Woodwiss, who's done a 117.410. So it's still very close between the front runners of Morgan and Woodwiss, even with that switch from the ATR management team to Go Speed, with Jack Keithley currently nestled in third place for Precision Motorsports on a 117.7, and Jeffrey Rietveld for GT Omega after his switch from ATR management on a 117.7. And Yank Lapchin's just jumped up actually now with the ATR management on a 117.5, and he does indeed lead that outfit now, as opposed to Morgan Moran and Jeffrey Rietveld, who have moved teams. And you are absolutely right, it's Eros Masculi that has taken his second ATR management seat, and it's Stefan Canitz has gone to AT Racing still.
I'll tell you, one man to watch though in the final 1 minute and a half of this qualifying session. Jim Prix says that, well, he's just put it in now, so commentator's curse, but of course he will actually get another lap time in, maybe. But I mean, you know, teammate to Morgan Moran over the summer break, you couldn't ask for a better teammate. Moran's still currently challenging feet in terms of lap times, literally separated by nothing, so I'm sure there'll be a setup share, definitely some tips here and there. So we know Priest is quite competitive anyway, but right now sitting in 15th isn't looking to be a major factor in this session, but it's looking to be quite close at the top of the moment. Blair Disley for Silverline, currently the man on the bubble. Reno Room just outside, and he's around 3 tenths away from him, so we'll have to see what he can do there. DeVitt currently 12th, another man who's a very renowned late qualifier. Masculi's in the pit lane, Saxton's on a lap, so he could play a factor, but he's far from over, still with 36 seconds left. I think there could be some late jumps.
Yeah, the Ash racing car of Juraj Simacek has just jumped into 4th place on a 117.686 as well, which is only 3 tenths off Morgan Moran. So the Ash Racing's shown their hand in this already in this qualifying session, that they have made some sort of improvement and are well up there inside the top 10. And the second Ash Racing car of the World Series winner yesterday, Ville Lapala, is in 8th on a 117.8, just 2 tenths off his teammate. So it's looking very encouraging there. And it's great to see also Blair Disley. He's in 10th place, but nevertheless he's inside the top 10. So it looks like Silverline are hoping to progress even further up the field in this second half. And Blair Disley has shown his hand on a 117.951 and inside the top 10 at the moment. Just on the bubble is Reno Room for RS Evo, also on a 117.9, but 117.958, so 7 thousandths of a second splitting the pair there. I think the biggest scout we currently have at the moment is the fact we've lost currently the second ATR management car of Eros Masculi, who is outside the top 10 in 13th. So it's currently only one of the ATR cars that have made it inside the top 10, and that is Yank Lapchin, nestled in 3rd place still on a 117.570.
Yeah, absolutely then. So I mean, it's quite a shaped up qualifying session. Simicic, obviously the big jump there for Ash Racing. We saw him very competitive in the World Series yesterday, so be interesting to see if he can hold that up with the big guns during the race. Of course, Jack Keithley hopefully won't suffer the same fate as he did yesterday, having a disconnection. So, but that to be said though, GT Omega looking quite good. Rietveld and Tarley both seem to know what they're doing, 6th and 7th, and that's what you want from a team. Just, you know, both running at the same pace and hopefully going to get some good points today.
Jeffrey Rietveld certainly has shown his hand, especially in the last race, how good and competitive he is. Jeffrey Rietveld for GT Omega is just going to do them a world of good, and Rasmus Tarley working alongside Jeffrey Rietveld to improve the setups and development and push that team forward can only be a good thing. And so it's a fantastic effort for GT Omega, and obviously Ash Racing getting 2 cars inside there. Frederick Nilsson, we usually expect him to be slightly higher up, only 6 tenths off, and he's in 9th place, probably looking to show his hand more so in this second part of the top 10. So it will be looking forward to seeing what these two can, Frederick Nilsson can do for Twister Racing. Now the second Twister Racing car is actually Mohammed Patel today. So I believe Peter Burlak was due to race, but has been unfortunate to pull out, which has then promoted Mohammed Patel into the second Twister Racing car, and he's currently he finished in 19th place on a 118.404, 1.1 off. But still a very good effort for the jump up. And it's Giuseppe Marconi in 20th place for Faster Than Speed. That was the slowest man in that first part of qualifying, as we progress now into the second part of qualifying, which is the top 10 shootout.
Yep, so Blair Disley then will be the first man on the track for Silverline. That's going to be an impressive result for them. We're not used to seeing Silverline's in the top 10. So two unusual faces, as we said, Lepela and Simoncic, doing good fresh racing. That's a way, you know, you can see they've been practicing very hard over the summer break, and hopefully that's going to pay dividends for them. But we'll have to see what Blair Disley can do as we wait for the session to get officially underway. And then it'll be one lap, one shot then to try and get that pole position and as high up the grid as you possibly can. All the pressure is on, and with only one car setting a lap at a time, all eyes, whether it be spectators, team bosses, drivers, will be watching one driver. So the pressure really is at its peak now.
Yeah, absolutely. As Blair Disley's just rolled down pit lane in the Silver Line machinery as he dives into turn 1. Obviously, it's a bit tricky going into turn 1, especially coming race. Obviously, the pit lane feeds right into where you go into the braking zone for turn 1 on the inside. So, come pit stops, and we're expecting a lot of pit stops today, that's for sure. And it's going to be certainly a very close front and frantic race between the top drivers. As on his outlap goes Blair Disley, and he's now already up in and around the turn 4 to 5 section before you go into a very tight chicane of turn 6 and 7, which is, there's anti-cuts on the inside, so you can't take too much commitment through there, shall we say. Sweeps through the next part of the circuits, turns 8 and 9, before coming up through towards 10, where it's a very fast flick right. It looks like he's going to be holding 4th gear through there when he comes to start his hot lap, just warming the tyres up on this outlap for Blair Disley. Comes down to the heavy braking zone, goes downhill slightly there, so you have to brake slightly earlier than you actually think as the track starts to fall away of you and go somewhat off camber, but you should be able to hold it and save it as it comes round to the final 2 corners, which is 13 and then into 14, 2nd gear, and builds speed coming out of the final corner to start his flying lap for Silver Line in the top 10 for the Hungarian Grand Prix of 2012. As he brakes very, very late into turn 1. That was tremendous commitment there from Blair Disley to going into turn 1. Heads toward the RC sponsored bridge. 6th down into 2nd gear he uses now for turn 2. Well, I guess turn 2 and 3 depends if you class turn 2 as the kink from 1, as he will now go through 3 up towards 4 and 5. The quick sweep. Oh, he got a little bit out on the grass then. He couldn't turn the car in as early as he would have liked to have done. So a touch of understeer as he builds speed now, heading up over the crest before the braking zone for the very tight chicane. Uses 2nd gear here also. Not as much curve as I would have expected, but still holds the speed. Goes to, oh, huge oversteer moment there. That's cost him a lot of time. Way too committed on entry there, and it's kicked the rear of the car out as he now pulls around towards turns 10 and heading back down this decreasing hill. Heavy braking just before the 50 board. My God, that's late braking. Gets the car nicely turned in and pitched up, and we'll head to turn 13, 2nd gear still. See what the driver's like out here. Oversteer all the way through that corner. Oh yeah, big twitch off it as well. Lighting the rear tyres up. 2nd gear again. Holds the inside and drives off line under the Thrustmaster bridge for the line now, and crosses a time of 1:18.853.
So the benchmark time for the afternoon then, albeit it was a little bit scruffy though in places, as you said, just a lot of oversteer in that Silver Line car. Nilsson then takes a very wide exit on the final corner to get as much drive as you can. Coming down the home straight, want to be the ideal overtaking opportunity during the race, but right now Nilsson's just using it to get the ideal entrance into his qualifying lap. Takes turn 1 very nicely. Over the apex he goes then, into the kink from turn 1, under the RC bridge. Let's see what Nilsson can do then. He's renowned for being quite a good qualifier. We call him Mr. Consistency, and they want to try and live up to that name once again today by getting a good result. But more importantly right now, a good grid position as he climbs the hill. Then it's so easy to get this corner wrong, but you have to get it spot on. Over the apex he goes, almost flat out, a little bit of a lift, and then just release the car slowly down the gears as you come in towards the chicane. And you can take a lot of room here until the anti-cuts, but you go over there and that can really break your lap. So luckily Nilsson does a good job there, flicks the car left over the apex. He's doing an extremely good job through sector 2, and it's a much more tidy lap if you compare it to Blair Disley's. The car just seems to flow a lot more easier. There's no sort of kickback. The rear wing isn't trying to step away from him. He's got this really tidily and riding it very well at the moment in towards the final couple of corners then. And it's looking all pretty tidy right now for Nilsson, and putting up time to the perfect lap time for the pace. It couldn't have gone much better. Hugs the apex tightly, bit of oversteer there, but nothing too out of proportions. He comes into the final corner, launches the car into the home stretch, and let's see what sort of lap time it is. Can he beat Blair Disley's time? Yes he can. It's a 1:18.313 then for Fredrik Nilsson.
Yeah, an absolutely wonderful lap there all the way round, and it's now the turn of Ville Lepala the new driver into World Championship for Ash Racing, as he just comes on. He took a very wide entry also, as he comes on to start straight to gain the most amount of top end speed as he goes down the hill into the braking zone. Looks like he's braking so late under braking, about 75 meters. I swear he brakes so late there as he heads towards underneath the RC bridge and then down into the turn 2 to 3 complex, and we'll start to build the speed going downhill still. It's such an up and down roller coaster type of track. The undulation changes is unbelievable, and he's underneath Frederick Nilsson's time by 3,000ths of a second, sorry, 300ths of a second. So he looks like he's got a bit of advantage. He sweeps right. He holds the gear there where Frederick Nilsson flipped between second and third. Tight chicane, a lot more curve. This is more committed here from Lapala as he goes through into the next part of the track, turns 7 and 8. Holds 7 and 8 very well. Holds the exit on fourth gear, in fact, there. So again, different to what Frederick Nilsson did. Goes through turn 10 and he's 300 still underneath the time. So it's very close between these two. As he missed the apex on the entry coming down the hill there towards turn 11, which cost him. As he then goes, so turn 12 then into 13. From 13, got good traction into 14. Wide entry, cut the apex very late and run it all the way out right over the rumble strip. He does indeed. Drives to the line now, and he does go to pole position 1:18.242, 700ths quicker on that lap than Frederick Nilsson.
Yep, so all looking good there then for Vila Lepala. So the next man to set a lap time then will of course be the Estonian in the first GTM Mega Driver in the top 10 today, Rasmus Tali. So we'll take a ride on board with him again. He's almost an FSR veteran, been in the league for so long, and we'll be looking to set a really good lap time today and see what he can do then as he comes onto the final stretch. Down the gear, up the gear he goes and flat down. One of the longest stretches. I mean, it's going to be so good to get his gear ratios right. How late does he brake? It's extremely late once again. Hugs the apex tightly and no oversteer from the car. It's so hard to be able to do that, to brake that late and just hold the car in as well. So flicks into turn 2 then. And you can so easily drift wide through that apex, and if you do, you will lose a lot of time. We saw that, I think, where Blair Disney made one of a few minor mistakes, but none so here for Tali as he climbs the hill. Let's see if he's if he can improve and perhaps provisionally take pole position, but right now it's looking pretty tight at the moment for GTM Mega. Of course, his teammate Jeffrey Ripvet will be the next out, so two very evenly paced cars during Q1. Will that be the factor in Q2 as Rasmus Tali goes through the chicane? Bit of a twitch, but nothing too major as he goes through the second sector. Let's see what he can do now then, because it's going to be one of the most important sectors on the track. Then as you come down the hill, he needs to get his braking point right. Look at the runoff area, but you don't want to take a lot of the marbles because you will lose so much grip on the tyres. But he hugs the apex very nicely and launches it into the penultimate corner, and he's taking a bit wide. That may cost him a bit as he swings back in to touch the apex and into the final corner. So all that past 1 minute and 20 seconds or so is going to shape up his race then. So Rasmus Tali will come across the start finish line and set a time of 1 minute 18 flat. So 1 minute 18.040, and he goes provisional pole position. Let's see what his teammate can do.
Obviously that was a wonderful end to that. We get 2/10 advantage there, 10th and a half in the final sectors. That was a fantastic effort there to take provisional pole position, while his teammate Jeffrey Rietveld now moved to GTM Mega, comes around the final corner to build speed and start his lap as he blasts onto the start finish line now, as he goes underneath the two Thrustmaster signs, getting down towards turn 1. Heavy braking here, very late again. Jeffrey Rietveld, wonderful under braking these cars and these committed drivers throughout the course of this track. Heading up now towards turn 2 as he sweeps down, drops into second gear, holds a very tight line here. He came in and had a much tighter entry, got a very square and straight exit, which allowed him to get onto the power nice and early as he drives up to the next section, which is turn 4, and he's 400ths underneath the time as well. So that's a great first sector there for Jeffrey Rietveld as he takes second gear instead there. So he's actually using the lowest ratio of gears here. Second gear through the chicane also, got a little bit wide on entry, held the exit just about, moment of oversteer, but was able to commit through the next batch of corners from 8 into 9, which then leads up into 10 and 11. Into 11 now, which he goes through fifth gear, very wide, 800ths underneath the time now as he goes down the hill towards turn 12. Brakes, second gear, holds very nice the apex there, just clips it just perfectly. Into turn 13 now, as he then builds speed on the exit, and looks like no oversteer moment there for Jeffrey Rietveld. He goes tight on the entry into that final corner, on the power nice and early, slight switch, but it should be decent enough, and it is. 600ths underneath, he has gone to a 1:17.973. Jeffrey Rietveld provisional pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. We've really seen him mature this season, not just in World Championship, but across all divisions. It's been great to see. But the question is, can he hold it? Because you've got a lot of the faster cars coming in now, and unfortunately, he could have his work out for him as Jack Keithley comes across the line in a second position car. So nice to see him back in the World Championship. Into turn 1 he goes, brakes exceedingly late over the apex. So let's see what the Brit can do then. He's a very feisty driver. We'll see if he can get a good grid spot to start his drive. He doesn't want a result of just what happened yesterday in the World Series. All that hard work just goes to waste with the disconnection. Right now he's just got one thing focused on his mind, and that's just climbing this hill, setting a good lap time and having a good start for the race to try and get as maximum points for Precision Motorsports as possible. As he swings in, just comes up towards the chicane now then. It's just nice to see the actual variation in lines that the different drivers take, but Jack Keithley takes a slightly more defensive line trying to avoid the anti-cut strips, and then flings the car left. He's doing quite well at the moment. The question is, can he be a 117.9 Rietveld? The only man currently to break a 117, but I'm sure that will change as the session wears on and we get in towards the top 5 drivers, so with the likes of Rowland and Prix. But there's still time for a shock. People like SimRacing out there who kind of the underdogs in this World Championship. So their first race, they want to try and make a statement, and this is the best way to do it. Keithley also trying to do the same, but for different reasons. As he comes in towards the final corner, flings the car right very late, loses a little bit of time now. He didn't quite touch the apex as early as he would have liked. Across the start finish line, then flat out, and what will it give him? There you go, third behind the GT Megas, a 118.2, and it's looking pretty good for GT Mega at the moment.
And now we have Simončić for Ash Racing about to start his lap as he comes around the final corner, a little bit of oversteer through the mid part in third gear as he builds speed off the corner to start his flying lap. So it's the second of the Ash Racing cars now. Simončić, again apologies for the names, as he goes into turn 1, hugs the apex very nice, a little bit squirrely on the exit there, had to correct the rear of the car as he comes up towards turn 2. Now here he dropped into third gear he uses there, so that's the difference again. He uses third gear all the way through there, so tries to keep the revs up. Got a very wide exit and was very wide through the next part as well as he comes up. Oh yeah, he's lost 2/10 through there. That was not a good first sector, not the ideal line at all. So third gear he'll then hold going up the hill, which turns into turns towards 6 and 7. Through the chicane, held the entry okay, but a little bit loose on the exit as he ends through 8 and 9. Again, very wide on exit here. Looks like he's suffering with a touch of understeer as he drops into 5th gear. And he's still 2/10 down, so it wasn't too bad a middle sector that. Coming down the hill into turn 12. Second gear, clipped the apex very, very nicely in towards turn 13. Again, very tight line. He's very tight with his lines, and it caused a lot of oversteer there. He was correcting the car all the way through the mid part of the corner. Again, correcting the car through the final corner, third gear. Big snap of oversteer, drives to the line now, and he's 118.219 to slot into 4th position.
Yep, so pretty good time there by Simončić. Let's see what Yannick Lapchin can do then, of course, leading the ATR team now after a much, it's kind of not the way they wanted that mid-season break to go. Lots of controversy around the team, of course, first with Moran leaving and Rietveld, as he said earlier on. So Lapchin's got a lot to do now to try and rename some glory to the ATR team and just try and bring them as much points as he can. Bit of a lock up there, though, and that's not going to help him at all. Luckily, he's still playing quite strong and didn't get too much oversteer or anything as he climbs the hill, but it's not exactly the way you want to set a good qualifying lap. Over the curb he goes a bit wide. Oh, there's a snap in the back end out. He's at 110% right now. Lapchin is trying to push so hard in that ATR car. He knows the task in hand. He goes through the chicane, and it's a little bit more aggressive through the opening part, so he will come out a little bit wider. But that opening sector was so messy, just trying to push the car over the limit, and unfortunately it almost cost him a few tenths of a second, and any chance of a hugely good lap time I think maybe out the window unless he can redeem something in the final sector. He's using all the curb and a little bit more as he goes in to the final section of the track, into the penultimate corner, early on the throttle as he possibly can. How does he take this then? Is he going to, well, he locked up a little bit again there, hugs the apex tightly, and then flings the car right early on into the final straight. Let's see what Lapchin can do then, despite a fairly troubled early sector. Where's he going to finish as he drives for the line? And he goes 6th, unfortunately, at 118.291, and he's 3/10 away from Jeffrey Rietveld. So one by one the drivers are just trying and failing to beat Rietveld's time, but obviously Bonnequist's next. What can he do?
Yeah, absolutely. Jan Lapchin actually had a very good final sector there. It was a very committed final sector, and it was very, very decent there as Bonnequist just dives into turn 1 now. That was so late, and he just threw the car at turn 1. and picked up the exit so fast. That was incredible throttle control as he goes through turn 2 now, as he falling down the hill before going back up the other side before being ultra committed through the quick left-hander. Drops 2 gears then. He's a 10th underneath Rietveld's time already as he now holds it going up the hill. 3rd gear he holds through there. So again, a different set of gear ratios that a driver has used. 2nd gear through the chicane, they've all been using that. He builds towards turn 8 and through to 9, and he's held that in 3rd gear. A lot of revs, it looks like, for Bonnequist here. He's really revving the gears through the corners. 6th, he'll drop into 5th gear. Plenty of curb on exit, and he's nearly 2/10 up on Rietveld's time as he heads down into the turn 12 in 2nd gear. Plenty of exit curb as well. He's using all the track and more. Is Bonnequist here into turn 13, the hairpin. Wonderful on the traction, so sweetly executed. 3rd gear through the final corner, that's the best someone sweeps into there. This has been a wonderful lap here for Bonnequist, drives to the line, and it is a 1:17.7, 2/10 quicker than anyone else at the moment, so Bonnequist goes to provisional pole.
Absolutely stunning lap there by Bonnequist. We expect nothing less, but now the man who could potentially be the underdog in this session. He was fastest in qualifying 1. He's moved to Go Speed Racing, trying to recuperate them, bring them back to the front of the field. Bit of opposite lock as he flies in towards turn 2. Miranda, of course, as we said earlier, has not been on the top step of the podium since the season opener in Melbourne. He's going to want to try and rectify that and be back there today. To do that, though, he'd ideally want to start in front of Bonnequist, but with a lap as good as that, it's going to be troublesome as he flings the car in now almost flat out through there. It's great to see these two guys at the top of their game at the moment. Quist just does not seem to buckle under any pressure. Moran trying to follow in the same footsteps. Is it going to be quicker or no? We're about to find out as he goes through the chicane. It's all looking pretty tidy in that Go Speed at the moment. He flings the car right. So he's the last man to set a lap time. Then we will head to warm-up session. But right now Moran wants to go into there with his head held high, knowing that he could be starting on the front row of the grid. So he comes in towards the final section and flings the car in extremely late. Bounce over the curb a little bit, but it's nothing too extreme. He flings the car into the penultimate corner, hugs that apex extremely nicely. They're all a bit of oversteer, and that's not the way he wanted to end that final sector as he flings the car into the final corner. Down the home stretch he comes, another bit of oversteer there, so it's not looking good in the final sector. Morgan Rand drives for the line, is second, and it's the 1:17.728, which means again, Bonnequist is on the top, pole position, and immediately Moran expressing his disbelief in the chat. He wasn't happy with his qualifying lap, but what an intense lap by Bonnequist, absolutely incredible.
I've got to give credit here, Morgan Rand, what a final sector that was. The car was oversteering everywhere, but just getting the power down as early as he possibly could. What a fantastic final sector it was, 200ths off in the end, and he was a 10th off at the sector 2 beam. Wow, that was really impressive from the Go Speed team there for second place. So, we now have a top 10 confirmed. It is Bonnequist on pole position, Morgan Rand in second, Jeffrey Rietveld for his new team, GT Omega in third, Rasmus Towley for GT Omega in fourth, Jack Keith, his second Precision Motorsports car in fifth. Andre Kunchman's going to be going through the roof with that. That's a fantastic effort. Jurek Simončić for Ash Racing is in sixth, Verla Pala, Ash Racing seventh. Yank Lapchin, ATR Management, the first ATR Management car now in 8th. The first Twister Racer car, Frederick Nilsson, 9th, and Blair Disley for Silverline in 10th.
Extremely varied top 10. I mean, obviously the two surprises there being Lepala and Simončić, 6th and 7th, but got to give credit for GT Omega as well. You know, they've been doing pretty well in this championship this season and want to get some good results. They're currently 3rd and 4th, so dominating the second row there. Well, you couldn't really ask for a better start. You know, you've got the two title contenders in 1st and 2nd, and then 3rd and 4th, so knowing that you're predominantly near the front of the field, it's got to be such a good feeling for Damian and the rest of the GT Omega team. They'll have their heads held high, and Jeffrey Rietveld, I think they've got to be quite proud of that signing.
Absolutely, that's been an absolutely frantic qualifying session. That really was superb to come back from the summer break into the Hungarian and really commit and attack. That turn 1 of Bonnequist, I think, grabbed him a 10th there. It was phenomenal speed he carried into turn 1. So Bonnequist is on pole position for Precision Motorsports, and we look like we are set up for a Bonnequist versus Morgan Rand battle, but Jeffrey Rietveld and Rasmus Towley, the two GT Omegas, leering behind them and ready to pounce at any opportunities going to be handed to them. But Bonnequist now has a rear gunner in the form of Jack Keithley, and I'm sure he'll like to stamp his mark on World Championship after his promotion from World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of guys in that top 10 who you want to try and keep an eye on this afternoon. You said Simoncic and Lippola did a great job. Frederick Nilsson as well did a good job for P8. Jack Keith, as you said, will be some nice support there for Bono Huis. So it's been a really interesting qualifying session there. So we've got a 15-minute warm-up before we head to the race. But I think one thing's for certain, if we can take from this qualifying session, our pit reporter Scott Woodwiss is going to have an extremely busy day.
Absolutely, he will do. And just to reiterate the point of the strategies that were played out, obviously last time out at Silverstone we had Morgan ran on a 3-stop strategy and Bono Huis on a 4-stop strategy, and we saw Bono Huis having to make that pass to take the race victory, and it very much could turn into a similar sort of situation today, with a difference in pace that they may potentially show, anything ranging from a 4 to a 6-stop race. So it's going to be absolutely frantic and fraught all throughout this race, I think, because these two are going to go hammer and tongs for the entire 70 laps. And Scott Woodwiss will bring you in here. What did you think of that qualifying session?
Well, I think it was pretty intriguing. I think credit to both of the GT Omega cars of the second row. I'm quite impressed by Simoncic and Lapal to get both of the AS Racing cars in the top 10, and they've done very well to get themselves times change all the times. I can't say exactly where they went, but I think it was roughly about 6th or 7th they got themselves, which is pretty interesting for see how they'll get on. I have to admit, it was a super first sector from Bono Huis, a super final sector from Morgan Moran. So literally the times were probably literally there was 200ths of a second in it. So I reckon if Moran hadn't had that much oversteer on the second last corner, he probably would have found those extra couple of hundredths, and he could have possibly snatched the pole. But you know, done now, so it's all about what can happen over the 70 laps.
Absolutely.
And it is definitely going to be a... Sorry, go ahead, Liam.
That's right, it's just so 11 minutes left in the qualifying warm-up session now then, before we head to the race. It's really going to shape up to be a good one. As I said, strategy is going to be key, but also just the nature of the track. There isn't much room for overtaking. You've got turn 1, and then of course that's around it really, apart from the turn 15 I believe. So there's not much in the way of overtaking, and if you remember back to the World Series and World Trophy, we saw a lot of actual train action. Now about 3, 4, maybe even 5 drivers at times, which enabled guys in perhaps 11th, 12th place to actually catch the guy in 6th purely just being able to catch a car in front. So we could see a lot of group racing here today, and it's going to make for some fantastic pit stops, I think.
It's going to make for a fantastic race all round as they are in this warm-up session at the moment. Just to roll in on this moment of warm-up, it's where their transition phase starts to come in. They've all moved from their qualifying spec machinery back into race spec, with race fuel being topped up and topped in. And it was actually Jeffrey Rietveld for GT Omega. It was Bono Huis that was at the top of standings, but Jeffrey Rietveld has pushed him down to second. So the GT Omega goes into the front of the warm-up session on a 1:18.904 from Bono Huis on a 1:18.988. And then Patrick de Witt. This is one interesting thing I think I can bring both Liam and Scott in on. For Matt Corp seems to just have not been anywhere at all. Patrick de Witt again. Looks like he's got potential race pace, but that qualifying, they're really struggling qualifying, and looks like Patrick de Witt is on his own at the moment as well.
Yeah,
there's no David Greco. Sorry, go on.
So I was just going to say, it's a bit of a shame really for Matt Corp. We used to see him quite near the front, but as he said, there's been qualifying paces lacking. De Witt, however, did a 1:19.057, so he has got some race pace there, but it's just a shame, his teammate is... Well, seemingly, I don't think he's in the session actually, but it's a shame for it. He's used to being a bit further front and forward in qualifying, so we'll have to see what happens during the race. I mean, if he can carry that pace, then he'll definitely be fighting towards the top 10.
Yeah, Scott, what's your thoughts on the Matt Corp situation there?
Well, it's quite interesting because there's no David Greco, and of course we saw he's definitely good at making tyres last. He was someone to... I've just distracted slightly because Bono Huis and Will Moran went side by side literally through the final corner, so that was quite interesting to see how that worked. We're now towing each other down towards turn 1. That's always quite interesting. It distracted me from trying to make the point I was trying to make, but nonetheless, I think David Greco, he's not here. I think that's quite key because he proved all the way back in Melbourne that you can do one stop less and make his tyres work, so that's interesting. I just wanted to quickly point out at all that over the course of World Trophy and World Series, especially in the World Trophy, where we only had 10 cars finish out of the 26, there's going to be, I predict there's going to be a high attrition rate in this race because we had a lot of suspension, engines, and also of course we had one or two players, including for second place Peter Burke had some rear brake wear, high rear brake wear. In fact, just how lucky Lapala was to win yesterday's race. Apparently he finished the race with his engine at 19%. So that's exactly just how hard he was trying, to how close he was to having not even making the end of the race. In fact, we had quite a few times literally right at the end. In fact, also Tommy Nilsson, who was due to finish third, he looks like he had a brake failure and went straight into the barriers on the run towards turn 1. So I'm predicting there's probably going to be quite a few accidents today, and we could possibly 1 or 2 massive shocks this afternoon.
I have to agree with what Scott said, though. There could be a potential of a lot of shocks coming today. But at the moment, with warm-up session just slowly ticking down, Matt Cup of Patrick DeWitt is still sitting in that third place on a 119.057, with Rasmus Tally for the second GT Omega car is in fourth on a 119.060. And then also, Moran is on a 119.067, so less than half a tenth in fact. No, even a 100th of a second splitting them, as Patrick DeWitt decides to dispossess that completely and go into first place on a 118.575. Thank you very much, Patrick DeWitt, in cocking that up for me. As then we have Gergo Baldi for the Netrex team, has jumped up on a 119.157. So Netrex potential for race pace there once again, as Villa Pala for Ash Racing is on a 119.2 in this warm-up session.
Yeah, another interest. Oh.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say the pit stop due time around here is about 15.5 seconds. They're anticipating to actually do a pit stop, and we are anticipating between 4 and 6 times to do that. So we could see, due to the fact of the lower fuel load due to the tyres, that a lot of teams are going to be pitting and coming back out straight into traffic. So there could be a lot of that happening towards the mid part of the race, where traffic becomes an issue also.
Yeah, I mean, also just actual pit stops in themselves. I mean, if you get them right, they can make your race. If you fail them, they can break your race, just purely because if you miss your pit box, or we saw yesterday as well, and definitely in the World Series, where if you share a pit box with someone else who's having extensive repairs and you can't get your car in, it can cost you so much time. And as you said with traffic as well, this race is going to be purely dominated by strategy, I think. I mean, if you can get your strategy nailed, all the pit stops 100% perfect, you are going to gain some time, and hopefully get some vital track position as well.
Just want to quickly jump in, sorry to bust in, I've got 2 points on Matt Core. One is that we've had the second Matt Core car's just jumped in, that's going to be filled by George Chastapantelis. Looks like that's another driver that's moved across. And also I've just had some info from our broadcast director that apparently Patrick DeWitt is going to be one of the drivers that's going to take on 6 stops. That's probably the reason why he's so quick in the warm-up session at the moment.
Very similar strategy to our Simonchich of last race, if you remember. So I think really it's going to be a race of risky strategies. If you can risk it for 6 strategies and go lighter on fuel, then it could really help your race, or perhaps do the complete opposite. But track position is key, and if you can get some clean air and set some good, sort of hot laps, then it's going to be kind of dividends as opposed to the car in front of you being stuck behind traffic. So we'll have to see how it all pans out. But as you said before, Scott's going to have quite the task today in pit lane.
Well, I think if it pans out the way it is with Patrick DeWitt doing a 118.5 on a 6-stop strategy, I've got a feeling he's going to need a couple more tenths than that to be able to actually execute it properly. I would have thought he's going to need in and around 2 to 3 tenths per lap to actually make that difference. And currently he's actually underneath a tenth, because Morgan Moran for Ghost Speed is just on a 118.6. You would have to say, with the way things have panned out, you would anticipate Ghost Speed and Precision to be 4-stopping and trying to do the most minimal amount of stops, because they're very good on our tyres generally, Ghost Speed and Precision. So you would anticipate more so a 4-stop. Bono may do a 5 because he has done that a faster 4-stop in Silverstone, so he could do a 5. But you would anticipate that those 2 drivers in particular will be in around the 4-5 mark, and then the guys slightly lower down the field, such as the Patrick DeWitts of this world, will do a 6-stop, as apparently Scott has already brought to our attention he will be doing.
So not long left in the session, and 4 minutes to go, and then we'll have 70 laps of racing underway. It's quite a big field as well, actually, so you're looking at around 23 drivers will line up on the grid, so it's definitely going to be quite hectic into turn 1. Plenty of time to get a slipstream, but even if you miss your braking point by just a fraction of a second, you can find yourself deep within the rear wing of the car in front of you, so there could be a potential for some fireworks into turn 1, but hopefully everyone can keep it clean. I mean, it's all about the ghetto. If you can just gain a position into turn 1, and more importantly, just try and gain a bit of space between you and the cars behind, because there's nothing worse than being caught up for a car, you know, between 5 and 10 laps if you just ever do it faster. So, and with a track with a nature as this, it's so hard to overtake here.
Yes, just one of the pieces of news that I missed out on before, I apologise, but the actual prizes have been released for the World Championship as well. So it was announced internally initially, and then it's been distributed publicly also. And there's a couple of cash prizes on offer that have been extended on top of what they already would win. So there's an extra cash incentive, but also now they've been that whoever wins the championship will be rewarded with one of the RC Evo V3 cockpits. So it's an even bigger incentive, and that's a fantastic piece of kit that I've actually seen on their website. So if you want to get over to RC and check out their website, they've got a selection of cockpits which are very, very good, and the championship winner this season will receive the RC Evo V3 cockpit, which will go down very, very well to, at the moment, you'd say either between Morgan Moran or Bono Huis.
Yeah, I've just seen as well, also, sorry, just linking with RC, just something we may have missed. The RC F1 racing team have actually got 2 new drivers in their cars. Looks like it's what the RC. I think one they've switched to the Brawn chassis in game, I believe, and the second one they've got 2 very similar named drivers. They've got Jonathan Asserclinth and Jonathan Mottram. So they're both currently trundling around. Well, when the time that Asserclinth's done at the moment is 129.2, which isn't particularly fast. I think he's probably still getting to grips with the car, and Mottram has only just jumped in, so possibly I think they're both trying to get to grips, and they may possibly, I hate to say it, they may possibly, if the pace doesn't pick up in what's left of the warm-up, they possibly could prove a bit of a nuisance a little bit on track this afternoon.
Yes, we're used to seeing Jonathan and Jimmy Dion taking the RC F1 cars out on track. That's the usual candidates we see in these cars, but it's, as Scott alluded to, it's Jonathan Asserclinth, I believe that's how it's said. Actually, there might not be TH, it could be Asserclinth. Jonathan, and then we've also got Jonathan Mottram for the second car. 129.221 for Asserclinth, as he actually had a bit of a moment coming out of turn 10. He's managed to get collected all together and he's going again. As Jonathan Mottram is sitting in pit lane at the moment, so we will have to just see how the 2 RC guys do, but nevertheless RC being one of the sponsors along with Thrustmaster, and like I said before, the potential of one of the Evo 3 V3 cockpits for the winner. So RC you're showing their participation along with their sponsorship.
It's a little bit of a thing here. I just noticed that actually Jonathan Asserclinth for RC F1 is in a 129.2, which is 10 seconds slower than the current fastest time set by Patrick DeVitt, but that's slightly worrying, so I think we've all sort of considered that. He's not improving a lot either. He's got plenty of clean track in front of him, but he just can't seem to get the lap together. So whether there's any going to be action taken by the race director or no is yet to be seen, but we'll try and keep you updated, but I think a few of us are quite worried at the moment, so...
Well, race direction will obviously take the appropriate percentage rules. I don't know if they're using the 100% rule when and where they can. So we'll wait to see what happens with them. But you know, every driver's worth. They've got to, you know, given an opportunity to compete. These 2 are coming at the highest level of Formula Sim racing, so it's the World Championship level. So we wish them all obviously all the best of luck, and hopefully they do complete the race. But they might need to just go a little bit careful, Jonathan Asserclinth and Jonathan Mottram. I believe Mottram's actually raced before, but I'm not too sure. I'd have to check which category it was in. Asserclinth I can't say I've seen before. We will wait and see how these 2 perform as we are in preparation to move from warm-up into the race session.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting then is how George Chatzpentelis does. He's going to start at the rear end of the field, of course, joining late, so if he can try and push his way through the field, that's going to be quite interesting to see what strategy he opts for, but all's going to come apparent as we get prepared for 70 laps at the Hungarian.
Yes, just a quick thank you to Ivor Calamies as well, who's giving us information on strategy in and around for sort of the 5-stop marker. Most guys yesterday were doing 5 stops, so in and around that sort of 18 mid to high sort of area, you'd expect a 5-stop, possibly quicker for the World Championship blokes. But in and around a 5-stop, we're expecting it. So thank you very much to Ivor Calamies there for that piece of information.
Just getting ready then for the cars to get on their grid slots. And so they all line up. It's a great sight to see. And it'll be Bono Huis once again then. Who we see in his face up front. He's going to be challenged by Morgan Moran though. 2:10 separated them in qualifying. What's going to separate them during the race?
Yeah, as they filter out on their formation lap now. Bono Huis leading the way as we see the red imposing force of Morgan Moran just behind in the go speed. I think we've actually got a little bit too much red in this field now because Go Speed are also red, GT Omega are also red and sitting just behind Morgan Moran, both cars. Jeffrey Rietveld first, then Rasmus Tali for GT Omega. Fifth position is the second Precision Motorsports car of Jack Keithley. Then we have a return to glory of the Ash Racing cars. It's Simon Cich in sixth position with his teammate Ville Lapala in 7th place. Jan Lapchin for the first the ATR management team is in 8th with Frederick Nielsen in 9th place for Twister Racing, and Blair Disley is in 10th for Silverline. And I will let my co-commentator take you through the second half of the field. So if you want to get ahead from 11th down there, Liam.
Yep, so Reino Rim was just outside the top 10 then for the RS Evo team. He was followed by Patrick de Witt, who apparently of course running a 6-stop strategy. It'd be interesting to see what he can do during the race. Eros Musculi for ATR was P13, followed by FSR veteran John-Eric Saxon. Morgan Moran's teammate Jim Paresis starts P15, followed by the two NetRex cars of Giorgio Boldi and Peter Varga. Stefan Canis for AT Racing will start 18th in front of Mohamed Patel for Twister Racing. Giuseppe Marconi starts from 20th position in front of Asa Clint, who's actually back in the pit lane. He actually didn't compete in the warm-up lap. So whether he's starting from the pit lane or no is yet to be seen, but he was sat on the grid during the warm-up lap. And then just behind him, of course, Martin Gosby in P22, Sebastiano Filuza in P23 for AT Racing, and then George Chatzpentelis for Matt Corp Racing. So 25 drivers then, with Motterup at the rear of the field as he's a bit further away from Pantelis to say, come onto the grid then, but it's all going to become apparent. It's a large grid. How many of them are going to finish the race and who's going to finish in first place? We're all about to find out. Eyes on the prize for Bono Huis, Miranda in second. Who's going to get the best launch off the line? We're about to find out.
Yeah, all the cars are now set up on the grids, and it's we've lost Jonathan Mottram already, unfortunately. So he's taken to the grid. We've lost him already and he's departed. So the cars are sitting on the grid for a long, long time here. We're still waiting on the lights, and the lights have come on now. So 1 light, 2 light, 3 lights, 4. They're ready for the engines. And they release the launch control now, and they're away! A great start there for Morgan Moran. Looks like he had a bit of a jump on Huis, but no, Huis has got the second part of the phase nicely done. He's defending his line going down to turn 1 straight away. Moran's going to look to the outside. Bono Huis takes to the inside, and he's going to hold it. He does. A bit further behind, though, looks like Jack Keithley's had a wonderful start. And he's already up into 4th place, going to go around the outside of Rietveld, is he? No, he's not. Rietveld holds it. He's still trying to hold it. Keithley's still on the outside. And it looks like he's going to get on the inside. He does! Rietveld goes backwards, and Keithley's through. Keithley goes through, and this is Simon Cich around the outside of Rietveld now as well. He holds it, so Keithley goes up into 3rd place. Jack Keithley in 3rd, then got Jeffrey Rietveld is in 4th. Simon Cich is 5th. Tally is falling backwards as Lapala is trying to get by him. Simon Cich is falling off the rear wing of Rietveld.
Reino Rim's on fire. Literally, Reino Rim's actually on fire in P22, so... And there's another car off there, Stefan Canitz. Canitz is off and retired, so already the attrition rates become quite high, but Huis still leads, more importantly, from Moran. Keithley, as you said, rocket start there at the 3rd from Rietveld. Simoncic up to 5th, so a great start by him. Tali down to 6th, Leffler 7th, 8th is DeVitt, 9th Lapchin, and Blair Disley still hangs on to P10, but carnage in the opening lap. Then we've already got 4 retirements, so Canitz, Rune, Frederick Nilsson caught up in that as well, and Jonathan Atherton. So already we're down to 21 runners, 20 runners, beg your pardon.
Absolutely, and we've got so much to talk about already. We've lost a handful of drivers. We've lost Frederick Nielsen by the looks of it there. Stefan Canitz has gone as well. So a whole raft of drivers have had moments on that opening lap. It's quite a tight circuit, so it's understandable. So we've had quite a big moment there for most of these drivers, as Masculi and Varga are side by side. Masculi. It looks like, sorry, Boldy's gone by, so Boldy's moved up position. Rafatali's
got a problem, I think he's down to P10, I saw some skid marks, he's now slipped through the field, so he may have had an off moment there.
Yeah, Boldy's gone past Masculi. Now Peter Varga wants to go through past Masculi also, but he's not going to get it done there, as Jim Paresis is now hunting all over the rear wing of Peter Varga in the NetRex car. John X Saxon is in 15th place. So the attrition rate, as Liam alluded to already, is very, very high. As back towards the front of the field, it's still Morgan Moran holding station half a second behind Woodwiss. Then there's a gap of 2.4 seconds already back to Jack Keithley, who's coming under heavy fire from Jeffrey Rietveld in his new GT Omega team.
And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier on with the train. Look at this, Keithley leads the charge. And look at SimRacing trying to go up. No, that's not SimRacing, I beg your pardon. That's Keithley trying to fend from Jeffrey Rietveld. Let's see what these two can do then. Know each other very well, of course, from various divisions, but look at the train. Rietveld flat out, it's going out the inside line. Drag race into turn one. Can he get the braking point right? Brakes extremely late. Can he hold on to the line? Yes, he can. Tech split manoeuvre there for Jeffrey Rietveld, but Keithley's just behind SimRacing up there in P5. Will he take advantage? He looks up to the inside, thinks better of it. He's in front of his teammate Lepper up to 6th. Ash Racing had a dream start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Simončić in 5th and Lapala 4th. 6th. As it's Jack Keithley is now falling back into 4th place, and Rietveld has pulled a half-second advantage already as he now tries to close that GT Omega onto the back of the Go Speed Racing car, as Woodwiss and Morgan Moran have already pulled out a 3-second lead. There's nothing to choose between those two at the moment, as Woodwiss and Morgan Moran are starting to just ebb and flow and pull, between them, but pull away from the rest of the field as Jeffrey Rietveld now goes into a class of 1. As Keithley will start to come under fire from Simončić and Lapala very, very shortly. And Patrick de Witt's in 7th. Where did that come from? So but the Matt Court racing car has gone from 13th to 7th. So Patrick, I think it was lower down than that. So Patrick de Witt has gone into the top 10 and is in 7th place. Yannick Lapchin for ATR Management 8th. Blair Disley moved up 1 position from 10th to 9th. And Rasmus Tally is in 10th for GT Omega, with Sergio Boldi not too far behind either.
Absolutely a chaotic start then to the Hungarian Grand Prix. It's absolutely incredible to see though. As we see, I think the big gains from, as you said, Patrick de Witt did an awesome job, but as did the Ash Racing drivers, both of those two going strong at the moment. Lepala 6th, just behind his teammate, and that train just starting to form behind Keithley now then. He leads the Ash Racing drivers, then de Witt, then Lapchin. Rasmus Tally then going side by side. No, he's behind. No, sorry, I beg your pardon. Disley and Boldi side by side. Boldi tries the inside line. It has to be a bold move. He can make it stick. Can he hold it? We saw a move that's very successful for sensible driving there by Blair Disley, not to try and challenge that one because that could have ended extremely badly. But it's looking, to be fair, it's all sort of settled down now. All drivers starting to settle into their own battles. You see Jim Prix is still P14, trying to cling to the back of Peter Varga and see if he can catch Masculi in front. So another train forming there. So constant action all over the circuit. There's a snake around the Hungarian. You've only had 4 laps already, and plenty of action has occurred. You can see Jeffrey Rietveld actually got past you.
Sorry, Patrick de Witt with a massive lunge into turn 12 on Lapala there. He couldn't get it stuck though. And Patrick de Witt falls behind Lapala again, but he took a big lunge trying to get by Lapala. But he's now fallen back towards the clutches of Yannick Lapchin. Lapchin's on the hunt at the moment for the ATR management team, as Morgan Moran and Woodwiss have got 4.3 second advantage over the pair. We're just getting a bit of news from Rainer Room by the looks of it. Rainer Room's had a few. He was just saying that he's had Frederick Nilsson was sideways apparently and just had nowhere to go and slammed into him. So Rainer Room's had 1 or 2 issues there. Hopefully we'll try and grab an interview with him momentarily as we try and work out what happened to some of these drivers in that opening part of the race. But it's at the moment Woodwiss from Morgan Moran, and that gap is ever opening back to Jeffrey Rietveld, 4.4 seconds, and he has an advantage of 1.3 over Jack Keithley.
Yeah, absolutely insane start then. So Rainer, if you're with us, just give us a case of events from your view then. What happened in that opening lap?
It looks like we unfortunately don't have Rainer Room at the moment. He will hopefully join us momentarily to just explain what happened there with Frederick Nilsson. So it looks like there was a problem with Frederick Nilsson. Rainer Room's had an issue. Hopefully he'll be able to join us very, very shortly. So getting just word from Stefan Kanitz also. He was involved with a carnage in turn 1. Just after sector 1, sorry. So after sector 1, the car was damaged and lost control before the chicane, and the engine stalled out. So that's the issue for Stefan Kanitz there, unfortunately, for AT Racing. And so it's not been a great day of the office for Stefan Kanitz or Rainer Room.
Look at Lapchin.
So that's unfortunate there for Stefan Kanitz.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Yannick Lapchin trying to put a move on Rasmus Tally, who's fought his way back through the field. They're still side by side. Tally reluctant to give in. Will have the inside line to turn 2. Can you make it stick? He's trying to hold on. Powering round the outside is Yannick Lapchin, and he unfortunately has to duck underneath. He's got to be careful though, because you've got Sergio Boldi. We spoke very highly of him earlier on in the season. He's tucked away behind those two, watching all this unfold at the moment. Lapchin goes a bit wide. Boldy tries to take advantage around the outside.
Oh, we lost someone. Lapala's gone off right in front of them. He stalled the engine as well. Oh, I'm not too sure what's happened to the Ash Racing car then, but Lapala's gone flying off. And he's stalled, and we've lost one of the Ash Racing cars. That's absolutely unfortunate. Right, it was contact with DeVitt. Scott Woodwiss, did you see what happened there?
I was going into turn 4, turn 5 I think it was, and DeVitt tried to go up the inside and it just wasn't any room. Lapala closed the door and that just sped Lapala off and he stalled the engine. He is back in the pits and unfortunately that is a retirement. So that's quite a shame for the driver that won the World Trophy yesterday. He's now out of the race already after a handful of laps.
Another big incident just to unfold in front of us. Morgan Moran is down to 3rd place. Jeffrey Ritveld's up to 2nd. And he's being closed in on by Keithy, so I'm not sure if there was an incident now whether Moran's gone for an extremely early pit stop, which is highly unlikely, but Moran is... well, he's down in 3rd place at the moment, so hopefully Scott can compile some information, but last time we saw Moran, he was out chasing down Bono Queet. He's now chasing down a car of similar colours, Jeffrey Ritveld's GT Omega, so not what he wants to do, and he's got Precision Motorsports driver just behind him of Jack Keithy and Simoncic, so it's all unfolding.
I think it may have
in the last race, these two were teammates as well, Rietveld and Moran, so it's going to be interesting to see how they go now as competitors directly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be insane to watch and see as well if Moran can try and pull his way back through the field and come back up to P2 and maybe even gain some time on Queet. But he may be rethinking strategy now because he's currently 6 seconds away from Bono Queet, so he might need to try and get past Ritveld's as soon as possible. Of course, Jeffrey will be reluctant to surrender away his 2nd position just for the sake of it, so of course he doesn't have to legally let Moran pass, so they can duel away to the death if they want to. And Simoncic has got the same idea in mind for Jack Keithley and Ash Racing, top 5 out of faultless race so far. We'll see who finishes in the final lap or so. So if you just look through the field then, it's all settling down still at the moment, but John Eric Saxon into the pit lane.
Yeah, Scott, have you got anything on what happened with Moran?
It looked possibly, from what I could see in the replay, it was a bit laggy in my replay, but I think maybe he went wide somewhere in the end, the first set he went wide, and that's what caused him to run off and let Ritveld through. So obviously he's going to have his work cut out this afternoon. Whether or not he's on strategy 2 weeks, we're not quite sure. We did say, of course, the top 5 were possibly going to be running a 5-stop strategy. One of them may try a 4. But whether or not Moran will this will force him to change his hand and change his strategy for that matter, it remains to be seen. But yeah, at the moment, Moran's got it all to do to get back into 2nd, and more importantly, stop Bono Queet from winning another Grand Prix this season.
Yeah, and Bono Queet is the first planet dipped into the 118s as well, 118.951. Oh no, we've also got Moran now. Moran's in the 118.854, so he's also dropped into the 18s. Rietveld was a 119.318. Jack Keithley was a 119.789, 119.6 from Simoncic. DeVitt 119.5 as he's under heavy fire now from Rasmus Tally on the 119.675. So it's all getting very, very close, and we could see Patrick DeVitt diving into pit lane very shortly, I suspect for his first stop. Nope, but he carries on for now. But we will expect some of these guys to dip in around about lap 10 to 14. Depending on when their pit window is, as Moran is all over the rear wing of Jeffrey Rietveld as they go through turn 1. Of course, the one biggest problem about the Hungarian is finding somewhere to try and make an overtake. Very, very difficult. We know the quality of Jeffrey Rietveld and the quality of Morgan Moran. It's just a question of now can Moran get a cleaner run out of any of these corners and get by Rietveld.
Oh, it's contact in the background! I think that was one of the ATR cars that could have been at Mosquito.
It's Boldy.
Jojo Boldy's off and in front wing. He hit Musculi. And yeah, I think it was Lapchin that got the unfortunate event of that. He's in the wall, he's out of the race as well, so another retirement as Boldy comes onto the track. But Tyler made a very impressive move around turn 1, but that is exactly what we were talking about with this train. They're so close, Disley, Musculi, Varga, Parisas. Scott has some info on his in, I believe.
Yeah, it looked like Lapchin just got a bit twitchy at the exit of turn 2, and he just got slammed into the back by Peter Varga. Varga's lost his front wing, and I presume he's going to be trundling back to the pits, but yeah, Lapchin's back to the garage, so it just goes from bad to worse for the fortunes of ATR. Not particularly very decent at the moment. They've had already Stefan Kanitz out of the race and won their AT race. Now they've got one of their main team cars out. It's certainly the fortunes need to change sooner or later. And we've got a car in the pits as well. Rasmus Tali's in.
So Rasmus Tally diving in pit lane now. as the rest of the cars are going by. So that's Varga and Masculi. They've gone through. So Eros Masculi is now in 8th place, with Blair Disley now into 7th. So have to see where these first round of pit stops for most of these guys are going to come out. Rasmus Tally comes out now. He's falling in behind Filosa.
Look at Masculi and Varga.
Racing car.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Masculi was just trying to force the move through Varga. Through turns 2 and 3, just couldn't get it done. It was literally, you saw the smoking up. I think there may have been some minor contact. But this is exactly what I was talking about. If you look in the background, just behind Prix, Patel and Gosby are gaining it quite quickly. So Patel currently 12th, will be just seconds away from Blair Disley in 7th. So from 7th to 12th, separated by virtually a couple of seconds. So a great opportunity for someone outside the top 10 to claim some small points, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. This is working out so well. Oh, Woodwiss is diving into pit lane. Now, is this because, well, what's happened to Morgan Moran? He maybe switched, but this is only lap. This is starting lap. Well, no. So we're on lap 10, and he's in pit lane, and Moran's also in. So Moran dives into pit lane. Woodwiss and Morgan Moran both into pit lane.
And here come the cavalry.
Looks like Woodwiss is away. Moran hits his box now as Woodwiss leaves, and we've got a few other diving into pit lane. Scott, you probably can see a few more than us.
Yeah, looks like Keithley's in, Simoncic is in as well, Patrick DeVitt almost, look at that chopping off the front wing of Jack Keithley as well. We've also got in, looks like Jim Paris is in, and also Peter Varga. Mum was actually going a Baldi to hit the back of, actually not Peter Varga, he's still up there, and looks like he managed to leapfrog Jim Paris, as it looks like, unless he was in front of him before, and DeVitt has actually been leapfrogged, I think, by Paris and Varga in turn. So he's now on track in 15th, but that probably will get him net, I'm sure, roughly. Well, Marconi's up there in 10th, so he hasn't pitted yet. Simoncic and Keithley have come out in 9th and 8th, respectively. Moran's out in 7th. And there's a lot of cars that have really moved up. In fact, look at that. Right back now, Lee. Woodwiss is out in 2nd. That huge gang of the cars left by Blair Disley to make their stop. So I reckon once it all shakes off, it will be quite interesting.
This is going to be a nightmare for Morgan Moran because he's come up on traffic, and Jeffrey Rietveld is going to dive into pit lane now. Where can Morgan Moran on this opening lap come out in relation to Jeffrey Rietveld? Rietveld does dive in on lap 11 into pit lane. He'll hit his box, but it all depends now where Morgan Moran's going to come out because he's going to hit traffic very, very soon. And he's already on the back of Martin Gosby. This is not going to work. Oh, Gosby dives in. That's going to help him through the final corner. No one to steer through there. Moran's just leaving now. Now, where is Rietveld? Rietveld's leaving his box. Moran, he's going to go, isn't he? Yes, he's got it. Moran moves up a position there, so Keithley... Oh, now is Keithley going to get him? No, Rietveld comes out in front of Keithley. So Rietveld rejoins in 6th in front of Jack Keithley, who's in 7th, but Morgan Moran, crucially, has got back in... That's a healthy lead as well, 2.5 seconds in front of Jeffrey Rietveld. So Morgan Moran now has Mohamed Patel in the second Twister Racing to negotiate, along with Eros Masculi and Blair Disley, who are yet to make their stops. As for on lap 12, they will dive in, I suspect, at the end of this lap, and Moran, that will release Moran. But Woodwiss, well, what do you say, really? Sangria, Bono? Sangria at all? Anything else you like with that? Unbelievable at the moment. He's just out on his own, 7 seconds further down the road.
Absolutely crazy. Believe so. Has some info for us. No, but this is actually exactly what we were talking about. As soon as one pit stop happens, the rest of the field just sort of pile in, and we saw that as well. I mean, especially if the field does seem to close up Moran all over the back of Patel at the moment. So, depending on whether these guys pit or no, this is actually going to harm Moran more than it is going to help him. Disley and Patel pit in, Moran rounding out luckily, so just as he catches them, they pit in, so it's not all bad for Moran. But how crucial is this, though, for Jack Keithley? He didn't come out that far behind Rietveld. He was pulling away, of course, Moran tucked away behind him. So Keithley and Simoncic actually made a bit of a gain on Jeffrey Rietveld there, which is going to help them in the long run. But Keithley provisionally 5th. I think he will move up to P4 when Masculi pits. Of course, Moran and Masculi know each other very well. Masculi sporting Morgan Moran's former car. So I have to see what happens.
This is going to be close between Disley and DeVitt, because, he split the pair. He split them, and DeVitt came in, Disley and Patel came in together, and he's managed to split them. Now DeVitt's going to go around the outside of him. He is indeed, he's driven around the outside of turn 2. DeVitt goes up into 11th and got round Blair Disley. That was crucial on his warmer tyres. So DeVitt moves up a position to 11th, Blair Disley's down to 12th, and Patel's down to 13th.
It's just the chaos of the pit stops like gas, and there's just plenty more to go. We've got roughly another 4 stops per driver, so now I believe Scott's has some info for us.
Yes, Mike was muted earlier, I was going to say AT Racing's afternoon goes from bad to worse. Another of their team cars is out. The Sebastiano Velosa is out. I didn't quite catch what happened. I caught the end of the incident. He parked up without a front wing. So both the AT Racing cars out of the race and also one of the AT Racing development cars out. It means only Eros Mascudi is out there representing ATR as a whole at the moment. So really, it's all falling on his shoulders, and I don't think we've even hit half distance yet. We've not even touched half distance yet.
No, it's all still yet to play for, and right now so much happened during those pit stops. Like we said, if you get them right, they can make your race. If you get them wrong, they can break your race. And right now, I think that Woodwiss has actually got that perfectly nailed. Just as you said, 7 seconds clear last lap.
9.4 now. Not sure where that's come from, but it's 9.4 seconds that he's gone out to. 9.6. So Morgan Moran is. I don't know if he's just struggled. I think he's got obviously navigated that traffic. Eros Masculi's still out on track. And he's going to get mugged by Jeffrey Rietveld very shortly because Masculi's yet to make a stop and Jeffrey Rietveld's flying behind him. 2.9 behind Morgan Moran, but he wants to make that stick because Jack Keithley's starting to close in on Jeffrey Rietveld. So Masculi either needs to pit or Rietveld needs to get by him because this is going to really hinder him. And Simoncic is not far behind Keithley. So one of the Ash Racing cars is going well at the moment with Rasmus Talley. Where's he? 2.5 seconds behind Simoncic. Peter Varga, he's going to come under heavy fire from Jim Paresis. Go on, Jim Paresis, as he moves up into top 10. With Patrick De Witt, he's in the top 10 as well. Blair Disley and Mohamed Patel, 11th and 12th. John Eric Saxon, closely followed by Martin Gosby, who nearly hits the wall. What a time that was to deflect Martin Gosby. Very nearly hit the wall. Managed to save it off of turn 11, sorry. And he's still going behind John Eric Saxon as Marconi and Boldy are going with hammer and tongs as they come down towards turn 12.
And Masculi pitted in as they finally get out of the way of Ripbell, which is a bit better late than never for him. But just back to the whole Moran and Hui situation, Morgan Moran finally did a 118.635 there, but his previous 2 laps prior to that were a 119.23 and a 119.21. As opposed to Bono Huis's previous laps were a 118.5, 118.8, 118.6. And Bono Hui still holds the fastest lap of the race by a 1/10 of a second, so this man is flying right now.
Absolutely, and Liam, just as you were saying that, Blair Disley and Patrick De Witt went side by side in turn 1. De Witt held on to it, but Blair Disley's looking menacing in his Silverline car as he brakes later, going up towards turn 4 and 5. And De Witt, well, he's falling back towards the clutch to Blair Disley in that Silverline car. Now, where's Mohamed Patel? He's 1.3 behind, but he's there to pounce when needed because Blair Disley is all over that rear wing of the Mack Corp. As further on down through the field, I think it's all pretty much spaced out for now. It's definitely between those two for 10th place going on between Blair Disley and Patrick De Witt. Patel's actually closed into 8/10 off the back of Disley because Disley's fallen off the back of De Witt. Saxon and Gosby and Boldy, well no, Boldy's fallen off, so Gosby and Saxon have closed on the back of Masculi. So we've got this is all for the lower end of the field. This is going to be all over 9th position very shortly when these lot close up.
Exactly what I was saying earlier about if you can get to enter the rear end of a train, there's a mistake. You can so easily jump from 12th, 11th place into the lower end of the points, and you can see them. Patrick De Witt isn't really going to like that view, I don't think, of all those cars just tucked away behind waiting for, sort of just a mistake really, as he's just trying to lose Blair Disley, who's, as you said, he's looking quite feisty there at the moment. Patel as well, just sitting outside the top 10. He would love to get twisted some points from there as well. Masculi in the ATR car needs to try and do something as well after the departure of Lapchin earlier on. John Eric Saxon tries to hold off Martin Gosby in the background, so from one Silverline car to another, Gosby is trying to get all over the back of that fast and speed, but Saxon is holding on quite nicely to be out. Off goes Martin Gosby there. Bit of a wiggle, just caught the marble boards, and we saw that in Boaties yesterday. Just 2 wheels off the track, really. You can just lose all grip in the car, and he did so well to save that, but he lost quite a bit of time to John Eric Saxon.
Yeah, he's lost a little bit, but they're all closing up behind Patrick De Witt. Now, Patrick De Witt's obviously pitted a touch earlier. His tyres are going to go off quicker than what Blair Disley and everyone else behind. I think Masculi's probably in the best position of the freshest tyres anyway. So Masculi's going to try and make or capitalise on this certainly at the moment, as Patrick De Witt holds off Blair Disley and Mohamed Patel from Eros Masculi, John Eric Saxon and Martin Gosby. Now, where's Jerzy Boldy? Jerzy Boldy, after his issues with that front wing, he's 10.9 seconds behind Martin Gosby. And Giuseppe Marconi is not too far back either. Chancer Pantelis, oh dear, he's had a bit of a nightmare in the Mack Corp. He's a minute off the back of Marconi. That's not worked out at all, unfortunately. Retirements, we've lost Filosa, Lapchin, Lapala, Canitz, Room, Nilsson, Aston Klimt. So we've lost quite a few drivers there. We also lost at the very start of the race his teammate, which was Jonathan Mottram, unfortunately, as well. So that's not been a great day for RC.
Yeah, and we're still, believe it or not, barely even, well, not even halfway yet, so still all to play for. Here in Hungary, we're on lap 17 out of 70, and it's still a long, long way to go. And as you said already, we've only got 17 runners left. Sebastiano Faloza, the man who just retired for the most recent, George Chatspentelis, who jumped in last minute for MacCorp. He's doing that bad a job at the moment. He's a lap down, and I think Patrick De Witt's going to come up to his teammate now and get through, and he's gone very wide there. Well, that was intentional, I know, to try and gain some ground to De Witt, but if he... I'm just trying to space some gap between De Witt and Blair Disley, but he's going to have to try and be careful the way he does it, because you will get a blue flag on his screen knowing that there's going to be some cars in front just trying to overtake the through. Goes Patrick De Witt, and here come the cavalry then. Blair Disley leads the charge, of course, from the man just behind Blair Disley. You've got Mohamed Patel looking quite feisty indeed, but Chatspentelis is just going to try and set some ground then between De Witt and Disley at the moment, just try and hold on for a bit and maybe not surrender the blue flag as early as he should.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is allowing, well, he's falling back now, he's navigated his way out, well, yeah, he's out the way now, so that's been absolutely fine in the end, but Patrick De Witt's pulled 1.1 seconds over Blair Disley, who's now under heavy fire from Mohamed Patel. It's these lower positions at the moment that are the most hotly contested, because further on down they've really spaced out towards, especially at the front. 9.9 seconds between Huis and Moran. Moran back to Rietveld's 5.3, and then now Keithley's closing in on Rietveld. It's at 1.8. Simoncic closing as well. It's only at 7/10 between those two, so they may start battling for third potentially. Overall, as Rasmus Talley is 1.2 seconds behind Simoncic. Peter Varga is 8 seconds behind, further on behind him, with Jim Paresis just a second behind Peter Varga. And then there's a gap of 5.8 seconds back to Patrick De Witt and the Gaggle cars behind him.
Yep, so all spacing out now. That I'm sure they will get very clumped together again as the next round of pit stops come along. But so I'm sure that'll be within the next 5 laps they'll start pouring in. So the man you want to watch for then, I guess, in terms of pit stops, is Bono Huis, because once he comes in, he'll be the first man to stop. In terms of strategy, then behind will be, of course, Morgan, Moran, Rietveld, and Keithley and Simoncic. Providing they're all on the same strategy, we'll all come in on the same lap. So once again, if that happens, Scott's going to have to be on his toes.
He will, indeed, as we're on lap 19, so he should start expecting some drivers in between lap 20 and 22, I would have thought. Obviously, due to the fact that the top 10 start on the tyres that they finished the end of qualifying on, I suspect they probably want to get rid of those nice and early, and they may be able to run slightly longer, so this second stint could go out to about 12 laps maybe. So you may see them pick a touch later than expected as Bono Huis crossed the line to start his 20th lap.
Yep, so getting quite tense now. They're in that battle between the De Witt train, as we'll call it. Disley still tucked away though, but the thing is, if you make a mistake in the middle of that train, you can lose so many positions in the blink of an eye, so you have to be driving on your absolute limit, but so aware of the drivers around you.
Yeah, and Simoncic is closing on Keithley as well now, so that's getting quite heated between those two. It looks like the gap has now halted between Keithley and Rietveld.
Simoncic almost went to look on Keithley there as he went a bit wide into turn 3, but thought better of it. He did lock the brakes, but nonetheless managed to hold on to them, so Simoncic, as you said, is gaining on Jack Keithley, but can he put a pass on the Precision Motorsports driver remains to be seen. But right now it has to be said, for a World Championship debut, he's doing extremely well. We've seen drivers make their debut before and just simply drop off the field or not be able to handle the pressure, but to be able to keep your car in the top 5 on your debut is a very impressive feat.
I've got to say, yeah, that's fantastic from Simoncic, but Jack Keithley also, what an effort he's putting in. Obviously we know the exploits he's had in World Series, so Jack Keithley's also showing well for Precision Motorsports as race leader Bono Huis dives into pit lane. So he has come in on lap number 20. Bono Huis dives into pit lane for more tyres. Morgan Moran goes through. Moran's gone through. Rietveld's gone through. Keithley's gone through. Simoncic has gone through. Talley's gone through. No one's pitting. There's only, at the moment, Bono Huis that's made that stop. Where's he going to come out? Jeffrey Rietveld's coming down the start straight now into turn 1. Bono Huis is going to stay in front of me, is he? Yes, he is. Huis into turn 1. Hold position number 2. So he falls there 5.7 seconds behind Morgan Moran.
if that was just a few seconds later, if he messed up the pit stop by just a fraction of a second, he could have found himself right in the midst between Keithley, Simoncic and Rasmus Tali, and that would have been absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, Peter Vargas made a stop as well. He's going down for net wrecks and back out of pit lane. Now where's his teammate Sergio Baldi? He's further on back down the track. Yes, he is. He's going to get that okay as Chance Pantelis comes into turn 1, a lap down, as Peter Vargas returns in 13th.
Tell you what, that battle then is seen in the background between De Wit, Disley, Patel, Musculi, Gosby, even Varga, if he can catch it, it's going to make for one of the most intense pit stop sessions of the race so far if they'll come in within the next couple of laps. They'll all be trying to get the jump on the drivers around them, but you've got to be careful. If you're going at the same time, it's going to be so cautious going in so you don't hit another driver. You see Gosby desperately trying to weave and find a way around Musculi. They'll currently be 10th and 11th, so it's all for the lower points positions at the moment, but Jim Paris is seemingly clear of this in P7.
Moran's carried on as well. Morgan Moran's carried on for another lap. So is Jeffrey Rietveld, so is Jack Keithley, so Simoncic. And these guys are going to get closer and closer, aren't they? Jeffrey Rietveld is carried, yeah, Simoncic and Tali pitted, sorry. So that he's off the back of that little pack of 3 between Keithley, Simoncic and Tali. So Tali did dive in on lap number 22.
None of the Blair Disley and co battle pit in. So I think it's just Tali that pitted that lap. So very unusual pit stop. Where's Tali going to feed out? I don't like the look of this. Tali feeds out right in front of the Patrick De Wit battle. I don't think De Wit's going to make the move, but nonetheless, as another driver into the train, providing he can get those tyres up to heat quickly enough, he should be safe from that.
Yeah, that worked out nice. Tali's come out to fresh air because it's 5.6 to Jim Parisis. So Rasmus Tali comes out for GT Omega in 7th place with the rest of them yet to make a pit stop. I'm surprised how long Morgan Moran and Jeffrey Rietveld have gone. At the moment, you say Bonnehuis is on a 6-stopper with Moran going these 2 extra laps, likely to be on a 5. So Moran is, I suspect, going to go dive into pit lane now, along with Jeffrey Rietveld. So they've gone 2 extra lap on these ever ailing tyres that are really starting to massively hurt. Dives into pit lane now. Remember, Bonnehuis will need around about 15.5 seconds to make this work if he is on a 6-stopper. He hits the line now. Morgan Moran into pit lane. Where's Rietveld? He's gone through. He's gone for another lap, Rietveld. Where's Keithley? Keithley comes in with Simoncic. So they both go into pit lane.
That's going to be 10.
Drops off the box and he's pulling away now. So where's he going to rejoin? Keithley's in. Chance Pantelis. We've lost Chance Pantelis, unfortunately. Moran leaves now. He's going to chase himself down to turn 1. Who's there? No one. He's in clear air as well. That's worked. Moran's out.
Patrick De Wit dives in, trying to get the jump on Blair Disley and co. Blair Disley gets very wonky on the exit of the final corner. Those tyres starting to fade now.
Here we go. This is going to be a battle between Simoncic and Tali. Tali's going to go around the outside of Simoncic. He is. And Tali's made up 1 position there. So that early stop's really worked out. Rasmus Tali moves up 1 position in front of Simoncic. And now he's got the warmer tyres, going to try and chase down Jack Keithley. That really did work for Rasmus Tali there. Beautifully worked. So pitting that 1 lap earlier and able to exploit the fresher rubber. And he's moved up 1 position. So he's now hot on the pursuit of the Precision Motorsports car of Jack Keithley as Simoncic tries to get his tyres up to temperature.
Yeah, well, absolute dream there for GT Omega. Tali not only breaking Simoncic, but he's got a nice run on Keithley. So we'll have to see how that plays out later on. But the battle then as De Wit tries to get the jump on Blair Disley and co. We'll have to see if Blair Disley hits this lap and brings the cavalry with him, because right now that battle, Simoncic is still pulling away, but Disley has actually pulled a bit of a gap now between Patel and Musculi. So that train has slowly started to deteriorate and drivers dropping off to go into the pit lane. But Disley again playing it a bit risky like Rietveld here, just trying to stay out and maybe extend the strategies. Rietveld's in. So
just as you said that, Rietveld dived in the pit lane, so he's made his stop and he's now pulling away. Now where's he going to come out in relation to Keithley and Tali? He now leaves. Where's Keithley? Looks like Rietveld's held on to it. He has indeed. So he dives into turn 1 now. So that's worked out. He's come out in fresh air. 10 seconds behind Morgan Moran. And 2.3 seconds in front of Jack Keithley, who's under heavy fire from Tali. And Simoncic is there as well. Disley is in 7th place with Mohamed Patel in 8th. There we yet to start with Eros Mascudi 9th. Varga, Parisis, Saxon and De Wit down to 13th at the moment. Now where's this going to shake out at the front? We've not seen the gaps. Bonnehuis is 11.3 seconds in front of Morgan Moran. Remember, it's around about 15.5 seconds required to make that stop and get out. Now, it looks like he's going to be on a 6-stopper. Depends if he goes to lap 30 or 32 now, I'd say. But at the moment, it's 11.3 seconds. He needs 15 to 15.5. His fastest lap, Bonnehuis, for Precision Motorsports is a 1:18.532 in comparison to a Morgan Moran who's on a 1:18.635 for the Go Speed team. He will try and bring that gap down. That gap is currently stabilised at 11.3.
Yep, so still trying to all get the big shakedown after the second round of pit stops. They just still aren't fully complete. Yeah, but it's very interesting to see what Blair Disley's going to do, because he still evades pit lane. Mohamed Patel takes a dive in, Musculi goes through, so I guess they're just trying to play the longer game and get some jump in, I guess, but it's not going to be working well because those tyres are going to slowly deteriorate. And unfortunately, look at Simoncic now, those three dueling away, Simoncic, Tali and Keithley, all still keeping in close contention. Keithley went a little bit wide there through turn 2, but nothing too major as you see. Simoncic trying to cling to the back, so I'm sure these three will have a quite intense battle as we get ever nearer to the third round of pit stops, and more importantly the halfway mark. Oh, and Simoncic goes wide there, so manages to keep it back on track, but that's a big moment there onto the marbles.
Mohamed Patel or Twister Racing came out behind Pachovic and Martin Gosby, but crucially had closed the gap somewhat. The gap was quite large when he came in, but it's down to just 9/10 behind Martin Gosby, so that's worked somewhat for Mohamed Patel there at the moment. It needs to depend on what happens to Disley, Masculi, Varga when they all make their pit stops, because at the moment this has worked out very, very well for the drivers in front of them, who probably will not fall into clutches at the next round, which is going to be Rietveld, Keithley, Talley and Simoncic. So we could get straight fights come pit stops at the next one in around lap 30, as Keithley is still holding that advantage over Talley, but we've seen Talley made that earlier stop, that 1 lap early stop, and got the jump over Simoncic, and in the process is they dropped Simoncic to an extent, because it's 1.5 seconds between him and Keithley and just a second between him and Talley.
Yeah, so also a bit of news there. George Chatspentelis, of course, the Greek, is actually out of the race, who jumped in last second for MacCorp, so I'm not too sure what happened there. That could have been a disconnection, but I'm sure we'll try and get some inside info for you as it pops up. But right now, unfortunately for George Chatspentelis, it's a race over, so that leaves De Witt, the lone MacCorp driver at the moment, who's currently way down in P11. But of course, running a 6-stop strategy is being approached there by Martin Gosby in the silver line, so there could be another battle between those two, so I have to see how that pans out. Of course, Patel got a bit of a jump there on Blair Disley overall.
Yeah, it looks like he has done, because Blair Disley, well, where's Blair at the moment? He's fallen backwards, so Patel is... Ooh, yeah, now Patel's made that work, because Patel's going in front of Disley, and Disley was in front previously, so now what's Gosby going to do on the back of De Witt in the silver line car? So it's going to be De Witt against Gosby as opposed to De Witt against Disley. So Disley's 1.3 seconds behind Mohamed Patel, and it's Gosby that's has made the inroads in towards Patrick De Witt, even though every time I see Martin Gosby on board, he's oversteering wildly off every corner. I really do not know how he keeps those tyres intact, but he's making it work for him as the Brit pushes towards the Dutchman of Patrick De Witt.
There has been a bit of an issue with Simoncic. He actually dropped way off there. I think not sure what's happened. He seems to have dropped quite a bit off the rear end of Tali and Keithley. So just trying to watch that back on the replay. Could have been a bit of a connection issue there, it looks like, for Simoncic, but he's got a lot of work to do now. He's around a second away from Rasmus Tali in P5 at the moment, who's still trying to hunt down Keithley. But the gap, as you said, more crucially, it was 11.3. The gap between Huis and Morand is actually now 10.4. So Morand, of course, on newer tyres, this could actually work out quite well for him.
Well, he pitted 2 laps later, so this has worked out at the moment for Morgan Moran. It's about a second he's taken out of him, roughly. Obviously, now it will depend when Bonahuis pits. He'll be pitting in around about 3 laps, I think, 3 to 4 laps. Bonahuis will pit, and that's when it's going to really count to see if he can put those quicker first 2 laps in, while I suspect Morgan Moran will stay out for a touch longer.
Yeah, it's all going to be a game of strategy. We said this just before the race began, and right now Morand, of course, having lost out earlier on and ended up behind Rietveld, has now got the lead down to 10.2 seconds, so it is coming down. And if he can keep that going, as you said, between when Huis goes in and Morand goes in, he could gain approximately another couple of seconds. You said that the gap needed for a pit stop is 15. Morand's currently 5 seconds clear of that at the moment, but again, we'll have to make a stop. So overall, I mean, you're looking for those two to be close in contention again, and possibly around another 2 or 3 stops.
Yeah, Bonnehuis looks like he had a bit of a moment there as well coming through turn 5. Got a bit of an oversteer moment, and the rear of the car really tried to step out on him. He corrected it okay, he didn't lose any time, but those rear tyres are starting to scream out already as he is on lap number 28. And those rear tyres, he's just trying to nurse them before his next stop as Morgan Moran tries to close that gap even further. Still holding station at around about 10.4, 10.5 seconds as Bonnehuis crossed the line again. And he's starting now lap number 29.
Let's see what the gap is then as Moran crosses the line. It's currently 10.1. 10.128. He's went up a thousandth of a second, but I'll tell you what, he's really giving Woodwiss a run for his money, and if he keeps gaining at such a small rate, but obviously the main goal is to just try and gain some time through the pit stops. Towards the end of the race, looking at lap 50 or 60, we're going to see a really close race between them.
Yeah, I might be asking Bonnehuis for that Sangria back shortly, because he's going to have to put some pressure on Morgan Moran at some stage to really try and make this work. If Morgan Moran does start to eat into that advantage that he has at the moment of 10.4 seconds, and that gap has restabilised at 10.4, so it works out in the sector 1 for him there. Bonnehuis on lap time at 29. Likely, if it goes to plan of what we've seen currently, he's going to pit on the next lap, and because that will be another 10 laps completed on these tyres that are again screaming out to be changed. As Morgan Moran is, he's actually got to navigate his way around the back marker of Giuseppe Marconi at some point as well, which isn't going to help unless Marconi is wise and just moves straight out the way for Morgan Moran, as Jeffrey Rietveld is 14.5 seconds further behind with Jack Keithley, 3.5 seconds behind Rietveld, with Rasmus Tally closing in on Keithley again, but Simoncic is 1.1 behind Tally. So Simoncic has had a couple of good laps there because he's been able to close the gap somewhat. As when we have Peter Varga in what an effort this is at the moment for Peter Varga in 7th place, Netrex Racing on a 1:19.2, his fastest lap. So he's going to start getting the pressure from Jim Prix, especially if Varga keeps doing that and running on at turn 12. Patrick De Witt and Martin Gosby still going, whoa, they're very, very close together. 3/10 split in the pair at the moment.
It's honestly fantastic to see that. I mean, if you look at the guys in the top 10 in terms of team, you've got Silverline in the top 10 and Martin Gosby, who's done a great job so far chasing down De Witt for MacCorp. So you've got Silverline, MacCorp, Ghost Speed, Netrex, Ash Racing, GT Omega, Precision, Ghost Speed, Precision. So a real variety of drivers in there. You've got Simoncic in 6th place, Varga in 7th, Gosby in 10th. Guys who, you know, you wouldn't normally expect to be that far out the field. It's just really playing out for them today, and obviously some work over the mid-season really has aided this race. It's just awesome to see such a variety in the top 10, and it's really going to open up this Drivers' Championship. It
absolutely is. It's the usual suspects at the front of the field as Bonnehuis does dive into pit lane. So, lap 30, again, 10 more laps done on these tyres. Bonnehuis dives into pit lane now as he hits the line, and he will change for another 10 laps, I suspect, on these tyres. First man in, where's Morgan Moran? Gone through. Morgan Moran goes through for a couple more laps, and it's going to be a case of Bonnehuis try and put as much time into to Moran as he possibly can. Question is, where's Rietveld? Oh, he's only going around turn 13 at the moment before it goes into 14, so Rietveld's going to be no issue to Bonnehuis. Will come out to clear air. Rietveld goes through though. Oh, now Huis's got to navigate his way around Marconi. So as long as you say Marconi's wise and realises that Bonnehuis just come out from a pit stop, he should get straight out of the way. Let's just see where Bonnehuis is going to this is going to work out, because he's going to lose out in the dirty air for absolute certainty behind Marconi around this tight twisting Hungarian circuit as they fly up towards turn 5 and 6. Whoa! That was a moment there. Wow, Marconi got it wrong coming out of turn 5, and it nearly cost Bonnehuis' front wing. Marconi was so lucky that Huis was just alert and aware to it. I don't think it cost him that much time, but that was very, very close for Marconi and Huis there. So Marconi is dispatched by Huis. Now Rietveld is going to try and close as much as he can before he makes his stop, but Huis now got to put in the laps and the times to really close the gap to Morgan Moran before he makes his stop. I suspect not this lap, but the lap after. Now what's Moran doing? He's going through for another lap, is he? He is. So he'll put on this next lap.
Telling Gosby side by side for P10 as they went through turns 5 and 6. Great battle there. Gosby relentless, trying to put one up the inside of the chicane. That's almost a risk, and I think it's just getting a bit heated between those two now as we come up to the second round of pit stops. Blair Disley, Martin's teammate, just within touching distance. Masculi on the back of it as well. So another train's form, and each time they form, they seem to be getting much more aggressive, because Patel now is having to drive the defensive drive. Well, it's best in the entire race so far as De Witt pulls away. into the distance, but we'll have to see what happens during the pit stops. There's some smoke there into turn 13. I think that's DeVitt having a lockup. But I have to see, as you see, Jim Prix is still trying to catch Varga, so it's all unfolding now. We just wait for the third round of pit stops to officially get underway, but Gosby, Disley, Masculi and Patel all dueling away.
Rasmus is closing on the back of Jack Keithley now also before they make their stops. So it looks like he's trying to make an impression, and it's allowed Simoncic to close in again. He's down to 7/10 of a second. It looks like he's battling his rear tyres, so it's going to be a battle between Simoncic and Tali very shortly, as Keithley is trying to control the pair of them. Now, where is Morgan Moran? Is Morgan Moran going to be pitting on this lap, or is he going for another one? He's gone for another one, so this is going to be out to 3 laps more on these tyres, and it's still stable at 4.3 seconds. Huis is taking no time at all out of Moran at the moment.
Moran's last time was 1:19.054. Huis was a 1:18.856, so not too sure what's going on there, but the gap actually went up by 0.03, so the gap 4.1 seconds, which is of course actually really significant, because that would be exactly what Huis needs to come out in front of and have back to Moran if he wants to make this extra pit stop work. But just a quick reference to the actual sort of fantasy league, I don't think, you know, guys who go for, you know, like the Miranda things, you might want to try and rethink your team. You've got a lot of guys up there now who can bring home some big points today, such as Rasmus Tali and Jeffrey Ritveld for GT Omega. Look at those 3rd and 6th place at the moment. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, Moran is down at about 4 seconds now between Moran and Huis. And it's come down a couple of tenths, but I don't think it's just enough. Yeah, Huis just needs just a tenth or two more, and he'll be right in that window. But he's still. Oh, there we go. There's 2 tenths come out there. That fast right-hander, where Moran looks like he was struggling on his tyres, and Moran was slow out of 12 as well. So Huis is starting to edge into him. Now, what's Moran doing? He's going for another lap, isn't he? Is he diving in? No, he's gone for another lap. Oh wow! What is Moran doing here? This is a long stint. This is ambitious. Is he going to drop to a 4? 4-stop potential? I don't know, but whatever the case is, Moran is gone for another lap. This is now 3 laps longer than what Bonner Huis has done. As Rietveld goes through, Keithley. Right, Jack Keithley pits, and so does Rasmus Tali, but Simoncic carries on. So Simoncic may be a big loser once again here, but Tali and Keithley pit on the same lap. Now, last time Tali actually pitted before the pair of them, but this time they're coming together, so I don't think Tali's going to get the jump on Keithley here, as they both leave their boxes now. Well, there goes Tali, and there goes Keithley. So they're still exactly the same position, but this is not going to work out at all for Simoncic, because he's going to be falling even back when they get up their tyres up to temperature and going much quicker as well. Now, I saw Varga. Yeah, Varga's in pit lane. Oh, no, look at the cars. He's got to navigate his way around, so we'll wait for him to pit anyway. DeVitt, Patel, Gosby, Disley, Masculi. So Peter Varga 3.5 seconds behind. That might be okay, in fact. So that clear air just before that they make their pit stops might just work out for Netrex there.
Yeah, it was a lucky up beneath for Varga. He's got a little bit of a breath.
Moran's in.
But Moran, I believe, in the pit lane, yeah, so Scott very well noticed there's some leaders in. You see Huis in the background coming down the pit stretch. His last lap actually was quick. He did a 1:18.590 last time round. Have to see what the gap is once Moran leaves the pit lane. So the next lap will be crucial, and if Moran comes out in traffic, he's leaving his pit box now. There's Jeffrey Ritveld in the background. I think Ritveld's just going to beat him out. So Ritveld goes through, will Simoncic go through? Well, Simoncic being not pitting again. Oh no, Simoncic pits now, so...
Yep, Simoncic in pit lane, that's worked out beautifully. So Prix comes in as well. Just so you know, that's worked out even better for Huis than I ever thought it was going to do, because it's 13.3 seconds, so it's actually 2 seconds bigger, the gap, than what it was on the first stint round, so it's worked quite well. Now, where's Simoncic? He's come out right behind Tali and Keithley, so Keithley, that gap's identical, in fact. 9/10 of a second. Simoncic has just tagged onto the back of Tali and Keithley, and will have 1 lap fresher tyres than what the pair of them have got as well. Where's DeVitt? He's 8 seconds behind Simoncic now. Okay, so it's between Bon and Huis and Morgan Moran. It's 13.3 seconds. Moran to Rietveld, 2.1. Rietveld needs to pit though, doesn't he? Yes, he does. So Rietveld needs to make another pit stop yet, as Keithley is in 4th, with Rasmus Tali in 5th, Simonchit 6th, is Patrick Devitt, Mohamed Patel is 8th, Blair Disley is 9th, and Iras Moskuli is 10th, but these guys need to make up another few stops yet. As Jeffrey Rietveld dives into pit lane from 3rd place. Now, he's got enough time in front of him. He closed to 2 seconds behind Morgan Moran, but it won't make a difference because Rietveld will come in and come out in exactly the same spot because Keithley will not get back to the start-finish line in time, even though he's coming around turn 13 and going into 14 now, as Rietveld pulls away. Rietveld lifts off the pit lane speed limiter now, and Keithley's just come off the final corner. So that gap may have closed slightly. I don't think it's going to be enough though, as Rietveld just turns turn 1, and Keithley hits the brake zone for turn 1. So it's down to 3.7 seconds between Rietveld and Keithley.
And while it not may be the best decision Simonchit ever made to stay out, while Keithley's being kind of stalked down by Rasmus Tali and those two are dueling away, you can see Simonchit just appear in the background of your picture, which has actually helped him quite nicely. So while he now will have a tyre advantage over these two, he's going to catch him quite quickly, but the gap back out front, I'll have to see what happens as they cross the line again, but Woodwiss provisionally back in the lead as they go into, will be the 4th round of pit stops, will be the next one up. Some of these guys will be 5, maybe even 6 stopping, as we've said, so I'll have to see what happens in terms of the lead. But so Woodwiss into turn 1, it's looking like it's fairly stabilised.
Well, he's blocked up going to turn 1, which won't help him because according to the time at the moment, it's down to 12 point. No, it's gone back up to 13 now, so that was a bad final corner for Morgan Moran. But Huis was not so great in turn 1. Moran was. Gaps down to 12.8. So it's ebbing and flowing between sector to sector here and where their cars have the advantage or not. So it's Morgan Moran currently in 2nd place as Bono Huis starts to. Oh, now he's got a back mark in front of him. That's Jojo Bold. He's going to come up amongst in a moment of the back markers.
Mohamed Patel into the
Mohamed pits.
Yeah, and look at those trainer cars as they go past him. So Varga and is actually being caught by Paris there, but Paris is all over the back of Musculi, who's all over the back of Disley. So quite a mouthful there, but you've got that train still in the mid from around 7th to 14th. There has been a constant flow of maybe 3 or 4 cars battling for the entire race. I'm sure this one's going to come down to the wire. You may as well, you know, I don't think you can predict the results from around 7th place downwards at the moment. It's going to be utterly just down to the wire, as you can see them battling away. I think maybe even the entire top 10 perhaps, because with
Jack Keithley's out! Jack Keithley's just had a big moment. He spun off. And he stalled the engine as well. That's the end of Jack Keithley's race there, I believe. I'm not entirely sure what he did, but he's had a big moment there. As Blair Disley now has just gone by. That's the exit of turn 8, I believe it is, between 8 and 9. He's had a big moment, and that's the end of the 2nd Precision Motorsports car. So Jack Keithley unfortunately retires from what was a great effort from him.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Jack. So that's 2 DNFs this weekend, and that means then that Bono, once again, is the only precision man left in the race. He's currently at the front of the field, but it's going to be all eyes on him to try and bring home the points for the team. The gap then between Huis and Moran last time round, 11.9. So Moran is flying at the moment in terms of trying to catch him, and I've got a feeling this one is going to come down to the final few laps between these two.
You'd have to think so, and the gap is just it's down to 11.8 between Moran and Huis. The fastest lap at the moment for Morgan Moran, 1:18.438, as Boniface is trying to navigate his way around Jojo Boldy. Yeah, definitely. It looks like that has happened. That's hampered him massively behind Gergo Boldy there. That dirty air effect has really cost Boniface a lot of time. It's come down to 11.6 seconds now between Huis and Moran. So if Moran keeps pumping in the times he just has been, it's going to work out for him, because Bono Huis, that traffic around this very tight and twisty circuit has compromised him currently on lap number 39, so he actually might be in on the next lap.
Tell you what, as we head into this 4th round of pit stops, it's going to be extremely close, not just in terms of, you know, the whole Blair Disley battle, but in terms of the whole field. You have to get these latter pit stops absolutely spot on.
Bono Huis is still trying to build that advantage up, as Paresis is going side by side with Blair Disley. And Paresis gets the advantage going through turn 1 there. So Paresis moves up into 6th place with Blair Disley falling back to 7th, as Paresis is now going to try and pull away from the Silverline car, as the GTO Omega is trying to just create that small advantage.
Yeah,
sorry, that's the RS Evo team.
Yeah, so if you just joined us then, we've got 15 runners left. The guys who are currently out of the race are Jonathan Asselin was the first man to retire, Frederick Nilsson for Twister, unfortunately premature retirement, Rainer Ruhmenden in quite a fiery style, Stefan Kanitz also out of the race, followed by Vila Leffler, Yannick Lapchin, Sebastiano Filosa and George Chatspentelis, most recently and probably most important, Jack Keithley. So there's a lot of guys there. We said the attrition rate would be high, and also to expect some quite big drop-offs. Guys like Nilsson, Keithley, Lapchin, we expect to see them at the front of the field, and unfortunately they're sat in the garage watching this one from their pit box.
They are indeed, and that gap is down to 11.6 between Huis and Moran. But I suspect we may see Bono Huis dive into pit lane at the end of this lap, because it is lap 40. And if it's the same to go by in what we've previously been seeing, and he will be diving in for another stop.
Disley in the pit lane, and as you see, DeVitt and Kogo past Patel. Of course, trying to hold off Martin Gosby. That gap actually come down a bit now. They're around 0.6 away.
Bono dives into pit lane now, so that's the race leader dives into pit lane as he hits the line and hits his box. Morgan Moran goes through, and this will be interesting now to see how these two fare up, because Huis is going to have to set some electrifying times to capitalise on this, as Moran goes by and down to turn 1, and off the limiter goes Bono Huis. No, just like Marco around him this time, or Peter Varga. So into turn 1 goes Bono Huis, and he's 3.9 seconds behind Morgan Moran.
Also, it's very interesting as well. GT Omega, currently doing extremely well in the championship, 3rd and 4th. At the moment, Jeffrey Rivell adjusted, to move into GT Omega. It currently sits on the last podium spot, so GT Omega had a really good, consistent race this afternoon. If they can keep it going for the second half of the race, I'm sure Damian will be one very happy team boss. Also, yeah, Jim Paresis in Ghost Speed, that's a P6 supporting Morgan Moran. Moran, of course, leading the way. Paresis comes up, and he started, way back in the field in P15. And carved his way not only into the top 10, but almost into the top 5. If he can somehow catch Synergic and get a top 5, I'm sure that's definitely a contention for driver of the day. Yeah, we've got Peter Varga and Eros Masculi coming up as well, because the Netrex has caught the back, I can't believe I'm going to say this, of the ATR management car. What a run this is for Peter Varga, as it was his teammate that Bono had to navigate around Giorgio Baldi, but Peter Varga is having a fantastic race at the moment, and he's going to try and that was a bit wide coming out of there as he tries to catch the back of Eros Masculi's ATR management. So this is Netrex against ATR. Patrick DeVitt's 8.7 seconds further back, so it's going to be a straight fight between these two, with Jim Paresis a further 5 seconds down the road. And having a fantastic race has been alluded to already, as Simon Chich is still behind Tally, as Morgan Moran has continued. The gap between Huis and Moran is down to 3.7 seconds. So, yeah, it's starting to come down ever so slightly between Huis and Moran. The tables have now turned, and it looks like Huis can have a quicker man. Varga's in the wall! Varga's spun in its front wing. He's managed to keep it going, but Varga was just behind that, as you said, the ATR car of Eros Masculi. So just trying to watch what happened. I think he just took a bit too much curb. You can see the skid marks, slams it into the wall, does a complete pirouette and keeps it going, but disastrous for Netrex, who was going so well, and he pulls into the pit lane now to get a new front ring, and that's such a shame.
That's a massive shame. What a drive that has been for Netrex at the moment. It's just not worked out on that time by. I feel absolutely gutted for them as Martin Gosby is closing in on Mohammed Patel. That's such a shame for Netrex. What a race they were having. They were up against an ATR management car. That's what they want to be racing, and unfortunately it's just not worked out. Peter Vargas had to get that new front wing, as I just saw someone go very wide there. Who was that? Oh, it was Giuseppe Marconi getting out the way. Okay, so Rietveld is 3 seconds down the road from Rasmus Tally, we have a bit of news on Giorgio Baldi from Scott.
Yeah, well, Peter Varga actually, he just crashed out. Apparently, I'm just watching him on board. Looks like he was having quite a few corrections. Seemed quite to be driving on the limit most of the time, most corners. So maybe he's just overdriving the car a bit too much, and occasionally just got the better of him. So, not been particularly decent afternoon for Netrex. And essentially, that's both times that their cars have lost a front wing. In fact, Varga's now completely out of base. So, again, we said it's my attrition rate. We're now pretty much down to almost coming up to half the cars out of the race already. So I think we've still got now quite a way to go, coming up to maybe almost around about 3/4, maybe 2/3 of the way through. So anything else can happen. About 20 or 28 odd laps to go.
Absolutely, I apologise, Giorgio Baldi. I was referring to Peter Varga there, but nevertheless, Netrex have just that's not really worked out for them. It's such a shame because they've been doing so well with the pair of them. Really have been working well, Netrex with Peter Varga and Giorgio Baldi, as Morgan Moran is now it's down to 3.1 seconds between Moran and Huis. Huis has been on an absolute mission at the moment. This has been a good lap, it is again, but at the moment that gap's coming down between Moran and Huis. Moran needs to stop again, as Rietveld is coming through, and he'll probably go through for another lap. He does indeed, he does not need to pit yet, as Rasmus Tally. And Simončić, the gap between Simončić and Tally is 1.7 seconds. Jim Parisis is further 14 seconds down the road, but after his qualifying, I'm sure he's going to be very pleased with that at the moment, as Patrick De Witt is pulled away, a slight advantage now from Mohammed Patel in the second Twister racing car, with the silver line of Martin Gosby in 9th, and John-Eric Saxon elevated himself up currently into the top 10, with Blair Disley in 11th, Eros Mascui for the second ATR management car in 12th, and Giorgio Baldi in 13th after his earlier escapades, and his teammate having a few issues now also. Wow, we're down to 14 runners. We had 25 start, we're down to 14. I can't believe the attrition rate we've had in the past few races in Formula Sim Racing, but attrition is certainly a key word for the 2012 campaign, and it's applied to this race once again. So Morgan Moran goes through for another lap, and the gap's down to 2.5 seconds now. That gap is coming down, and of course he needs to make that stop, and I suspect that Bonacuis is going to be stopping 2 more times, as we are on lap 45, and it will be Bonacuis pitting on lap 50, I suspect.
Absolutely crucial now then, Moran. I mean, I think he's left it a little bit late perhaps, because that gap is coming down. And I think this will give Huis a little bit of a boost in terms of the time he had before they pitted in. So Moran may have left this one a little bit late, but we'll have to see. As you said, Huis will have to pit 2 more times. So all's going to unfold very shortly. So we're on lap 45 out of 70. So still quite a long way to go, and still all to be played for as well. So technically, the attrition rate keeps going. You can see people such as Giorgio Baldi pick up a point or 2 here.
Yeah, Giorgio Baldi definitely pick up a point or 2, and after that moment he had earlier on in the race, the good pace that he's had may elevate him back up, especially with all the battle that's been going on in the midfield. Giorgio Baldi's basically just turned his own laps and done his own race, as Morgan Moran is gone through for another lap. He carries on, lap 45, going on to 46. He carries on.
Definitely feels confident though, so let's see what the lap time is when he crosses the line. He's doing 1:19s at the moment, albeit 1:19 flats, but he's just not quick enough. The gap is 2.4 seconds as Huis is up at 1:18, so it's, I don't know whether he's left it too late or if he's just trying to play a different strategy, but Huis is gaining on him slowly but surely, but maybe he's just trying to dent him. He knows if Huis catches him and Moran can hold him up and slow his lap times down a bit, then it may be able to give him a little bit of an advantage later on.
Well, that time it was 1:19.0 for Morgan Moran, but it was only 1:18.9 for Bonacuis. Still another tenth that's come out of him. So Bonacuis is pushing on. That's down to 2.2 seconds between the pair now. As
Charlie's in the pits. Leaving now.
And he's going to come out
in
front of Parisis, is he? Can he get in front of Parisis? Yeah, he should be. Yeah, he has. So he's come out in front of Jim Parisis after his stop. So I suspect we'll then see Simončić in also with Rietveld and Morgan Moran.
I mean, the gap down to 2.1, but I mean, I think this could be a little plan if Moran stays out. Maybe just force Bono into wearing those tyres down even more. If Bono has to try and literally, he's in now, so there goes my theory, but Morgan Moran into the pit lane. So how vital is this? And you can see Bonnequist flying past the start-finish line now, reclaims the lead of the race for another lead change of the day. The question is Moran going to come out in any traffic at all? Because of course Rietveld is the man in P3 at the moment, and we know he's quite a keen defender. He's not in sight as Moran comes out in clean air once again, so it's worked out quite well in terms of track space.
Yeah, Moran's come back out, and he will fall quite a way behind Bonnequist now. So Morgan Moran is 11.4 seconds in front of Jeffrey Rietveld at the moment. So Morgan Moran, that was a good stop there. Unlucky on your theory there, Liam. I know where you're going with it, but it just didn't quite work out, and it was the worst possible timing as well for him to pit. Good theory though, but at the moment Morgan Moran now has to make the impression back on Bonnequist, and he's only got 4 laps to do it in really, because Bonnequist will be pitting again, I suspect, on lap... Oh no, 3 laps in fact, on lap 50, because we're on 47 already. The gap is only 13.6 seconds. This is still not quite enough. He needs about 15.
Yeah, he did gain.
This is going to be getting very close between the pair of them at the moment, because Bonnequist is going to stop at least twice. Once more on 50, and I suspect 60. And I've got a feeling Moran's only going to stop once more.
If he doesn't stop, though, those tyres will be just screaming out. We said the tyres roughly last at their peak around 10, maybe 12 laps. If Moran's trying to force, an extra 8 or 9 out of them, it's going to get risky. But if he's in the lead of the race, you don't want to pit and surrender that, especially with Huis winning as much as he has this season.
Absolutely. It's going to be a case, I think, that Bonnequist will pit on lap 50. Morgan Moran's going to go and try and pit with about 15 laps to go. They're going to come out, and then Bonnequist is going to pit again on lap 60. And then it's going to be a case of, has Bonnequist done enough to get to leapfrog that final pit stop in front of Morgan Moran? Or is Morgan Moran just going to edge out in front, and Bonnequist is going to have to try and pass Morgan Moran on fresher tyres? That's Bonnequist that's going to be on fresher tyres there, by about 5 laps. So it's just a case of, can Morgan Moran get the endurance out of these tyres? Because I've got a feeling he's going to be in around about lap 55-ish maybe. No, he could go longer than that in fact. He may even go even longer. He may go up to about 58. Okay, so we'll just have to see now, because we're on 48 now, so that's only going to be an 11 lap stint. So that might work out for Morgan Moran. So now, I think it is the case that Bonnequist has got to push like crazy.
Yeah, it's going to have to be
got
Gosby
in front of him. This was a nightmare last time for him as well. In dirty air, he's got Gosby in front of him. So this is the last thing Bonnequist wants, is the traffic. We've already seen once, and we've had the Precision Motorsports have said that it cost him last time, and it's going to cost him again because he's got a silver line in front of him. This may really compromise him once again, Bonnequist here.
It's just not working out at the moment. He's going to have to do one step above sort of extraordinary. We've seen him hit that place before. It's something we know not many drivers can actually hit. It's just complete flat out, fastest lap after fastest lap. He's going to need something like that now if he wants to retain his lead at the moment. But right now, I think second half of the season, if this race is anything to go by, it's going to be absolutely spectacular. It's kind of the calm before the storm now then, as the gaps settle up between the drivers, as Mohamed Patel dives into the pit lane. So allows Alex Saxon through. Blair Disley will also go through, so that train's starting to form again there. Musculi not too far away, so the sole remaining ATR car into the top 10 currently. But I don't think you really can predict any result in this race at the moment.
No, this is brilliant work from Martin Gosby. Huis was nowhere near close enough to actually try and make a pass there. Realistically, Gosby's realised, got right out the way of with that silver line car on the start straight, and it's allowed Huis through. The gap came down to 12.4 seconds there between Huis and Moran. The problem Moran might have is he going to come up on that traffic, because just behind Huis is Martin Gosby, but I think just behind him is Mohamed Patel. It is indeed. So Huis is going to pit on this lap, I suspect. Gosby and Patel are getting closer and will fall back towards the clutches of Morgan Moran, and he'll have to navigate his way around. But it's 12.4 seconds between Huis and Moran at the moment.
It's kind of steady there at the moment. Jeffrey Rietveld as well doing a very solid job in P3. Rasmus Tali just behind P4. Simonchich still hanging in there in P5, only 3 seconds away. So doing a good job. Jim Paresis again in 6th. Saxon in fast and speed up to P7, so great to see him up there, albeit with the pit stop shuffling as he dives into pit lane. Blair Disley and Martin Gosby for Silverline both find themselves in the mix for some points, so finally it looks like a good race could be on the cards for Silverline today.
It is, and Bonneville's going to dive into pit lane now. So Bonneville comes in. This is going to be a stop on lap number 50. Now he's probably going to make another stop on lap 60. He'll never be able to get 20 laps out of these tyres. So he hits his box. Morgan Moran's going to go through now. And Morgan Moran was having a very, very good lap there as well as Giorgio Bolli's in front of him. So here we go now. This is going to be Morgan Moran back into the race lead. It is indeed. And Bono Huis has come out now. He is two. Oh, now this is going up. Get through turn one first, Bono Huis. What can we do from here? 3 seconds between Bono Huis and Morgan Moran. So he's got to try and bring that gap down before they both make a stop. I've got a feeling that Moran's going to stop on 48. And I think Bono's going to stop on lap 60. Sorry, 58. And Bono's going to stop on lap 60. And that's going to be very, very close between the pair of them.
It absolutely
what we've got now,
is.
just to put this in some sort of perspective, both these drivers now have to make one more stop. Bono's going to probably on lap 60, Moran probably 58, and Moran has a 3-second advantage. That puts into some sort of perspective that Bono Huis is going to try and close that gap of 3 seconds. This is working out for Moran.
Absolutely, and Huis has to get those tyres up to temperature ASAP. With Moran, while he's on full heat temperature tyres, he is coming up to some traffic in terms of the Vit and the Silverline just in front, so hopefully I'll move out of the way, but Moran needs to try and alleviate that problem as soon as possible, because otherwise you can see Huis there appearing in the background. This is going to be such a tense finish, probably the closest finish of the season in terms not just the lead but the whole top 10. I don't think you said before anyone could predict this. This is exactly what Formula Sim racing is about. And still 19 laps left to go as Moran goes out the outside of the Vit. He moves out of the way, so that's worked out very nicely there, so not too much of a problem. Well, the same he said for Huis. I mean, traffic hasn't really played that much of an issue today. They've been pretty sensible in getting out of the way, despite the incident earlier with Bono Huis.
They've been sensible in getting out of the way, but they've unfortunately been in the corners too long, and it's caused the dirty air effect. The effect that then has, of course, what Lean was just saying there is that it's a fantastic point he's just made. Because of how close the entire field is, when Moran and Huis are actually catching the field, that a lot of these back markers are actually battling. It is that close between the midfield that they're actually battling. So they're battling for position, realising there's a blue flag on them, and the race leader then loses time trying to get by. The gap between Moran and Huis is still 3 seconds. De Vit moves out the way for Huis. That's critical. That's another one dispatched. Now they've got to get round Giorgio Boldi.
Yep, Boldi in the net wreck. Obviously, I think definitely one of the ones to watch in the future of Formula Sim racing. But Huis as well, just I can't predict this, honestly. I mean, I think if you could honestly have to pick a winner, it's so close. I mean, it's honestly just going to come down to this final pit stop. This is absolutely critical. If you have to get this 110% right, everything they've practiced in terms of pit stops for the past month or so will come down to this defining moment. If Moran can get this right, then he should be able to come out in the lead of this race. But it's going to be extremely tense.
He is. He should be able to get this right. And Bono Huis is on absolute fire. He's throwing this car at every single corner at the moment, and he's just flown through turns 2 and 3. The gap is coming down to 2.8 seconds. That's 2 tenths in sector 1 alone. They're going up towards turn 5 now as Moran is caught into the just about the dirty air of Giorgio Boldi. So Boldi's got to be very, very aware that the race leader Morgan Moran on merit is coming up behind him, and Bono Huis is not too far back either. It just depends now how long it takes Moran to get round Boldi. In front of Boldi, I've just seen there is someone a little bit further down the road though. I'm not too sure who it is. Is it P11? I think it's position 11. That would be Saxon. As well, we've just got who's that diving pit lane? No, okay, it's fair enough. So
Saxon dueling with Patel as well. So again, what you said about the traffic battling, another prime example.
This is sorry, Lynn. This is having a real big effect now because Boldi is starting to hold up Moran because the gap between Moran and Huis down to 2.6. That's 4 tenths he's taken out of him. It's now down to 0.4 of a second. So it's down to 0.4 of a second, 2.4 seconds. Boldi is starting to really affect that airflow in front of Morgan Moran. The tyres are probably going off more so for Moran now as well, as Bono Huis is on fresher rubber. It's going to be about, let's see, 54, 4 laps maybe, 3-4 laps more for Morgan Moran before he makes a pit stop.
Yes, it's going to be. It'll be interesting to see if perhaps one of them actually decides to change their strategy and either stay out a couple laps or pit in a couple laps early, because it's unpredictable in terms of traffic at the moment. You have to get that pit stop not only timed right, but with Baldy out the way now, that leaves the turn that, you got Mohammed Patel as well just out in front, but you have to pit so that you come out in clean air. Then with the traffic battling away like it is, if you come out behind one car, it's likely to come out between maybe 2 or 3.
Now, the question is now, what can Woodwiss do on the back of Sergio Baldi? Because Sergio Baldi, he held Moran up for a good lap there. And it just depends what Sergio Baldi now does in relation to Woodwiss. 2.2 seconds. Marconi's in front of Moran, so this is not working out for Moran at all. And Saxon's not that far either. The traffic's really paying here, because Woodwiss is 2.1 seconds behind, but he's got to get by Baldi. Marconi's out the way. Right, that's worked out for Moran, but Marconi's going to slip in. Right, okay, he's let them all go. Okay, so Marconi's completely out the way. So Woodwiss still needs to get round Sergio Baldi. The gap 1.8 seconds between them.
Absolutely intense racing here right now, and also as well, just about as in front, so I'm watching.
He made a mistake, but he's allowed Woodwiss to get through just about. Baldi braked on the grass, it looked like he dipped a wheel on the grass, but it allowed Woodwiss through, and the gap stayed identical it's actually 1.9 seconds between Woodwiss and Moran now.
I mean, thing is as well, Moran now will be in a bit of clean air trying to catch John-Eric Saxon. You can see him in the background of Saxon's shot there. He's going to have to try and come between again, another battle, this time between the final points fair position of Mohammed Patel trying to defend off the faster than speed car. So this is going to be quite intense. I mean, they're going to have to be quite aware, those two, both pretty sensible drivers. We'll have to see what pans out there. Is this a good time for a pit stop to avoid all this traffic problem, pitting, get the stop out of the way, and then come out and work them? Because if one pits in, you're going to leave the other driver trying to move through traffic, which could lose them even more time. So decision
it's
time
still a risk. It's still a risk on the tyres. It's a very good theory, but he's still on a risk. It's at 15 laps. He wants to be in around about 12. So it's about 50, we're at 14 laps to go now, in fact, so we've just gone 56, so 14 to go. He could potentially pit now, but it's within the next 2 laps that he will make the stop. The gap's 2 seconds. Oh, in fact, it's gone down to 1.9 again, so it was just, every corner seems to be just such a little amount of time. But the gap, it's just stabilised for now, but I suspect Moran will be in within the next 2 laps.
Yeah.
Well, actually, sorry, this may not work out. He may go to the same lap as Woodwiss and just pit on the same lap. If he can make these tyres last until lap 60, they'll pit on the same lap anyway. So then Morgan Moran would still have the same advantage over Woodwiss when they came out of pit lane.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely close. I mean, I don't think you can predict this one. All the strategy, I mean, you can completely go for a different strategy now, which could really shake things up. And I just honestly can't predict this. I mean, not even to this stage now of when the drivers are going to pit anymore.
No, like I said, I don't know when Moran will pit, but he could go out to lap 60 for when Woodwiss will pit. Now, where's Rietveld? Rietveld's 30-odd seconds down the road, and he's only 2.2 in front of Rasmus Tally. That gap's come down. So Rasmus Tally's hunting down Jeffrey Rietveld for the final spot on the rostrum, as Simoncic is 4.6 seconds behind Rasmus Tally. Jim Paresis is in a class of 1. He's 16 behind Simoncic and 14 in front of Masculi. Masculi's on his own. Patel is still being hunted down by Saxon Baldi. Oh no, he's fallen quite way back in fact now. The traffic issue is going to be starting to emerge. It is. Moran's up behind Saxon and Patel, and they're battling for position. This is what I was referring to before, is the fact that he's going to start catching the people that are battling for position on track. Saxon doesn't want to give any time up to Patel because he's battling him, but Moran needs to get by because the gap's under 1.5 seconds between Moran and Woodwiss.
Honestly incredible at the moment. The chase is on, as they say. It is so unpredictable at the moment.
Saxon's out the way.
Luckily, but now they've got to get to Patel as well.
Yeah, Saxon's got wise here and realised that Woodwiss is going to be behind him as well. Saxon's he's such an experienced man and a quality driver. He'll know that he's there and make sure he gets out the way. I suspect him to start straight. Oh, Moran's in! There we go. So he has come in a bit earlier.
Now, is this going to pay dividends or no? It's a risky idea. Woodwiss, however, still stuck behind traffic. The question is, if Moran feeds out into traffic, that whole plan he's just going to go worse and worse and worse. But Bonnequist at the moment has to try and navigate his way through traffic. So it could have been a slightly harder in my theory, but if he can get this done, he's coming clean now. No, that's the silver line. That's that's Blair Disley needs to try and alleviate him from the problem as soon as possible. But right now, Moran, that's paid off a lot better than passing one car than it is around 3 or 4, because Quist at the moment still has to chase down Patel. And the longer he is stuck behind that, the dirty air problem comes in again.
By him. Moran's by. Moran has by Disley, so that's okay. 14.6 seconds between Quist and Moran. He needs about 15 to 15.5. He's got to find a second in 3 laps, and he's got Mohamed Patel in front of him. Bonnequist he needs to charge here. He's got to charge for these next few laps. Like I said, he needs about another second to be safe. Well, not even safe. We'll probably come out side by side with him.
De Vit's out of the race. Patrick De Vit is out of the race. Oh, right, I missed that. Sorry.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We've lost Patrick De Vit there. But Bonnequist is coming up behind Patel. Now Patel, will he pull right? Come on, Mohammed. Realise. No, come on, he's got to get out of the way. He is good man.
Quist is following, trying to get a slipstream though. So now then goes to the outside, then goes
out
through.
The way. Gap to Morgan Moran, he comes around the final corner, he's going to come up to the line now. He's going to hit the line, it's going to be 14.4 seconds between them. 14.4 seconds between Quist and Moran. And Quist is going to be pitting on the next lap.
I think Quist has to try and pit now. He's got through all the traffic, but the question is he going to get enough out? I mean, you said he needs roughly 15 seconds. There's literally nothing between them. This has to be a perfection pit stop now for Bonnequist if he comes in. Simonjic is in the pits from P4. Will Bonnequist follow suit? He goes through the chicane now. All eyes will be set on your championship and race leader at the moment, Morgan Moran. It has to be said, though, he's done a great job to even catch Bonnequist at this rate. So, strategy driven this race. Is he going to drive into a win? As Quist will surely make his final stop of the afternoon.
Yeah, he will. He'll make his final stop as Moran is starting to push. He's got obviously on those fresh tyres. That time will really start to come down, and it is coming down because Bonnequist is trying to push as much as he can, but his older tyres are really starting to compromise him. It's down to 14 seconds.
He doesn't
Moran
put in
is
either.
On the hunt.
Quist still doesn't pit, but I think Dainhumain realises because again, though, Moran did pit in. He still has to try and work through this traffic at some point or another.
13.8's down to. We've got to get Moran over the line though. We've got to get Morgan Moran over the line to see what the real true gap is. Oversteer out the final corner. Moran is just getting that power on. 13.8 is down to now. 13.8 between Quist and Moran. As traffic comes up, that's Gosby. So Gosby's about 3 seconds further down the road from where Morgan Moran is, but that's traffic once again for these drivers. Pit request light is on for Bonnequist. It's this lap number 60.
Yep, so 10 to go then, and also that's 10 more opportunities of laps. The gap's 13 seconds. I think Moran may just do this, but Quist goes through the chicane. He needs the in-lap of a lifetime. Now he's got clean air, but I'm not sure he's got enough left in the tyres. He's left it late, so the tyres will last 10 laps. He will have an advantage, of course, over Morgan Moran's tyres, but we'll have to see how that affects the rest of the race, because there's going to be literally nothing between them except a few seconds. So we've seen these guys battle tooth and nail to the end before. So hopefully see another entertaining finish to the race just to match the rest of the race. But Quist comes through the penultimate corner. Does he dive into the pit lane? Yes, he does. So Quist finally makes his stop of the afternoon. Now the question is, where is Morgan Moran? He's coming up to the penultimate corner, but also coming up to some traffic as well, which could really affect the race. So
yeah, he's hit the box now, so he's in his box, but Morgan Moran's coming around the final corner. Moran is in the final corner now. He's just got the final corner. Quist is still not even left the pit lane yet. He fixed the limiter off now, and Moran's gone through, so Moran takes the race lead. Moran goes through into lead, and it's less than a second between them. Quist has run deep into turn 1, but that's not going to matter because he'll get square the corner back off. He does indeed. The gap is 1.1 second between Moran and Quist for the final 10 laps.
This is going to be probably one of the best finishes in FSR history. Quist can just warm those tyres up as soon as possible, get in that slipstream of Moran, that he should catch in no time, because of course remember they hit lap 68 or 69. Moran's tyres will be slightly more worn than Quist, and that really could be a big factor.
The traffic in front of them as well. That's Gosby in front and Masculi as well, so Gosby and Masculi are just in front of Moran, and Bonnequist is on fresh tyres. Morgan Moran is going to try and push like crazy, but obviously his tyres are then 2 laps older, and he's got to get them to the end of the race now. He's got to make sure he gets over that line, as Woodwiss only has 10 to go on his tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the gap between them. Moran finally then, after 60 laps of trying to get that gap down, having fallen victim, and of course behind Ripveld earlier on, got the gap down. Actually, he came in front of Quiz. This has been a heroic drive by the Frenchman. We'll see if he can keep it there. Of course, the French Grizzly, as he's renowned. Can he get that back on the top step of the podium? Quiz will hunt him down, though. It's going to be no easy challenge, keeping a double world champion behind you.
Absolutely not, and Woodwiss is absolutely flying again. He did that wonderful turn to turn one that he does, where he just seems to dive the nose into the apex and hook it straight up. Oh yeah, wow, for the podium again. So Tali's only a second behind Rietveld, so it's the same between first and second that it is between third and fourth. So, and it's a 37-second gap between second and third. So these two are trying, well, 7 tenths now between Woodwiss and Moran. And Moran still has not been able to navigate his way around Gosby and Mascouli. That's because Gosby's catching Mascouli. That's going to be over position, that is. It is indeed. It's going to be over 7. Because Mascouli is being hunted down by Martin Gosby in the silver line. And Patel is further 7 seconds behind. Tali's, it's 1.2 between Tali and Rietveld. And Woodwiss is basically on Moran now. It's down to 7 tenths, 6 tenths. They still haven't got past Gosby, who's trying to get past Mascouli. And
Yeah,
that in his mirrors for Morgan Moran, that Precision Motorsports car is getting bigger and bigger as he closes in faster. Oh, 40! Wow, 118.454 there for Woodwiss on that lap. Still not as fast as Moran, who did an 18.438. Gosby's out the way. That's worked. Will he let Bono go? He does. He lets Bono go as well. Half a second between them. Now they've got to get round Morgan Moran's former team of ATR management in the form of Eros Mascouli. So that's going to be interesting for the Frenchman to navigate, because it's the Frenchman against the Dutchman here between Moran and Woodwiss. Moran touch wide there, gets it all sorted out though, as Woodwiss still tries to close in the back of Morgan Moran even more than he is already, which is at 6 tenths.
The gap is coming down. I think Marvis has worked out for Moran. Woodwiss will have that tyre advantage, like we said, and Woodwiss is just wheeling them in now. He's gone to that place we were talking about earlier, where he's just gone over the limit. It's almost like if you imagine a rev meter just gone literally completely off it. He's just absolutely hunting him down at the moment, and this is going to be a thrilling conclusion to the race. If Moran can just try and hold out for a few more laps, he would claim a victory, but this one's going to come down to the wire.
It is indeed, and obviously Woodwiss's tyres are 2 laps younger as well, so that's going to work in his favour, especially towards the end of the race. We're on lap 63 of 70 now. We're going to cross the line for lap number 64, or start number 64, sorry. We do now, and Mascouli's got out the way of both the pair of them. Now, here we go. This is what we wanted. This is going to be a straight fight between the pair of them. Woodwiss runs deep in turn 1. Oh. Moran's oversteered off turn 1 as well. 4 tenths still the gap.
Yeah, this is literally it then, the battle of the giants in FSR, the 2 championship leaders doing battle. We haven't seen these two do battling quite this way for some time now. Obviously, you know, Woodwiss normally tends to have a bigger gap than this, or it tends to be quite quiet out front, but now we've got a race to the finish to claim 25 points in a charge towards your FSR 2012 World Championship. Who's going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix? I think anyone can predict at the moment. Woodwiss needs to get this done if he wants to add just another trophy to the collection, but he's got a tough opponent to try and get around. Moran wants to try and reclaim his top step on the podium. He hasn't been there in 6 races. He wants to know what it feels like once again and bring the first victory. Yeah, they're both pushing so hard. Moran wants to know what it feels like to bring a first victory of the season for Ghost Speed as well.
Absolutely, this is going to be so close between them. It's lap number 64 as Woodwiss is just all over that rear wing of Morgan Moran. They are so close, and Woodwiss takes that very tight line that he took in qualifying. Now can he get the drive, because Moran's oversteered. He's going to be in the slipstream going down the start straight. Moran's going to go to the inside, is he? No, yes he does. So late going to vent it there.
He's done it.
He does.
He's trying to sweep it. Moran pushes him wide. They're both off.
Oh, it's a Maldonado.
Moran has
done a Maldonado. He's pushed him right off the track, and Hamilton. He's swerving and everything. Woodwiss goes around the outside again, does he?
Moran
pushes him even wider.
He's done it somehow. This really is the battle of the giants now. If you could try and build up this high point you want, it's already been job done. Moran is just holding up everything he's got now. Every ounce of energy left of him and the car is going to be used to try and defend this lead. Woodwiss using everything he knows to try and overtake but with the track nature like this, we said there's barely anywhere to overtake. It can be easier said than done, and we're going to have to wait till turn 1 realistically, but Queen's actually pushing him round now, as he just tries to get that car into clean house. Not going to do his engine temperature any good at all, as they flow into sector 3. Queen's trying to weave in, but Moran just covering the line, trying to slam as many doors as possible. Queen's will get a bit of a run now, but Moran is having to drive the defensive drive of a lifetime right now.
He is, and he's driving superbly, but he was a little bit cheeky in how far off the track he pushed him in turn 1. That was really audacious for Morgan Moran, pushing him that far wide turn 1. Queese, that same qualifying line, this is going to give him a great exit again, and he has got that slipstream once again. He's underneath the rear wing of Moran. Moran's going to go defensive so late. Flicks right, he does. Now can Queese go all the way around the outside? Oh, good. This is going to cut back. Oh, well played, Morgan Moran. Stopped it dead on the apex, so Bonnehuis could not get the drive. Great. That was what more we wanted to see, Morgan Moran. None of this pushing off the track. Defend that inside line and plant it on the apex, and Bonnehuis could not get the drive. That was a proper defensive move from Morgan Moran there. That was a great effort. So Bonnehuis still trying to get by. Where's Tally and Rietveld? They're split by 1.3 seconds. Still the same gap. This is the biggest battle, though, is if Huis can get around Moran. It's very that move at turn 1 maybe looked at after the race because he pushed him so far wide off the track that Bonnehuis was nearly in the fence, but Bonnehuis is still trying to catch Morgan Moran. He's still pushing as much as he possibly can, and there's only 4/10 split in the pair of them. Bonnehuis knows where he can attack now. I think he's had to back it off slightly here.
The thing is, though, Moran knows that if Huis gets past with those older tyres, then he's not going to stand much of a chance in trying to fight back. I think that's the reason why he pushed Huis to the right. He needs to defend this. If Huis does get through on those tyres, which are 2 laps newer, then this could be, you know, race over for Moran in terms of getting the win. So he knows the task in hand. Switches to the inside line once again, needs to keep it there. Huis a bit further back this time, and Moran feeling safe to try and hold the outside line. Huis had a little bit of a look, but not too much. But Moran knows what he needs to do. If Huis does get through, this will be, I think, race over in terms of the lead.
I agree with what you're saying there with the fact he has to hold him behind because he can't defend back, that he can't push someone that far wide off the track either. That's just uncourteous. What he did for the second time round was superb. That's what we wanted to see. That was a true defensive move. And look how close he is underneath that rear wing now. As Bonnehuis, this is lap number 67 they're on now, and Bonnehuis is still pushing as hard as he can behind the go speed of Morgan Moran. And Morgan Moran is just holding his line. This is what we expect from Morgan Moran, to defend his line. That defensive move in turn 1 where he just blocked off the apex, no drive for Bonnehuis, had to back right out the throttle, was a very clever and shrewd move from Morgan Moran there. But Bonnehuis is closing in once again in this final sector. If he gets within about 2 to 3/10 underneath the rear wing of Morgan Moran off the final corner, he'll be able to drive cleaner off the corner and pick up the toe. Depends if Bonnehuis can get into the final corner as fast as Moran can. Here we go again, that tight inside line. Now can he get the drive? It's 4/10. He won't this time bite, but Moran is driving so well at the moment. Trying to just build a 4/10 gap. That 4/10 gap is all he needs, because it comes down only by 2/10 by the braking zone of turn 1.
I'll tell you what, though, flashbacks of Spa last year, if you remember, Nick, when these two battled to the death, almost pushing each other left, right and centre. Both of them just such talented drivers as well, and both really young, both giving it everything they've got. This is the future of FSR right here, and Moran looking to stamp his claim on. But right now he's just got a few more laps to go, 2 more to be specific, when they come round to start lap 69. This is going to be literally down to the wire. Huis needs to find something a little bit more if he wants to take the win here.
He just needs a little extra more. He just needs that little extra deeper into turn 14, into 13 in fact, because he can get the run off the corner. He's got those fresher rear tyres, but I'm sure he's spinning up like crazy trying to get some traction on Moran, as Moran is just putting his car in all the right places now. It's out to half a second. Huis is pushing. There's no doubt about that. It's just a question of can he get the drive off the corners. Files in turn 13. And he'll go very deep into 14 again, like he has done. That very tight inside line. Yeah, oh no, this time that's worked out better for Morgan around that time. So Moran's tyres are actually lasting the distance at the moment. It's working out nicely as they just start lap number 69.
So 2 to go then here at the Hungarian. 68 long laps of racing. We've seen drivers fall off, big names fall victim to the track's nature and drivers around them, but these two guys haven't yet Moran and Wheat, it's got to literally come to the final lap, maybe even the final corner. Right now Moran just can't think of any of that. This will be possibly the longest 2 laps of his life right now as he just tries to keep Wheat at bay. So through sector 2 they go, also up towards the chicane. You can't mess up here of all places. You have to keep your line and just ride those corners. You can't hit the anti-cut strips or the car's just going to bounce. And with Moran's tyres fading as well, it's just not going to do you any good. So we will get ready then and prep ourselves for the final lap of action here. The question is, if you're in the final lap, is there going to be a heat of the moment move from Woodwiss?
It just depends now. He's obviously in a very strong championship position already, but he wants to win every race he competes in, so I'm sure he'll still be going for it. He wants to navigate his way round Morgan Moran, but it's out to half a second again. And Moran has just been able to put the power down a bit better now. He's really feeding that throttle on as Huis dives in that qualifying line again that the Woodwiss seems to take. And both so wide off the corner. Moran had more oversteer, and this is we go on to the final lap of the race now between Morgan Moran and Woodwiss. That's late.
The inside,
that's very late, Woodwiss, but he didn't do anything about it.
No, it was extremely late braking, and he luckily managed to think better of it. I think if he'd gone any later, there would have been certain contact. But it's actually given Rand a bit of breathing space because of that mistake. Woodwiss actually ran a bit wide on the exit of turn 1 as they climb the hill. Then it's all going to come down to this. Moran, I'm sure the heart will be pumping like a trip hammer as they come in towards just the final half of a lap then. It's been such a grueling race, not just for the drivers, but the cars. Imagine the engine temperatures on these things at the moment. That would just be so hot. And you can see the Swiss just trying to find a little bit more. But I think if Moran can just hold on, he's going to win this one.
Yeah, he's only got a few more corners to go, and Morgan Moran, just needs to hold it for these next few corners. It's only 3/10 between them. This would be the overtaking zone if he could do it, but he's way too far back, Woodwiss. It's going to be this corner or never, because he can't do it into the final one. It'd be a miracle if he did. He's got a very wide entry, so he's looking for the exit here. I don't know if he'll get it, though. Oh, he's got it. No, but there won't be enough to the line. And this is going to come out the final corner. Morgan Moran is going to win for his first team for Go Speed Racing. And Go Speed pick up a win, and Morgan Moran wins in Hungary at the Hungarian. Woodwiss comes across in second place with Jeffrey Rietveld. He will come home 30-odd seconds down the road, in fact, for third place. So Morgan Moran wins in Hungary at the Hungarian. That's what I meant to say, not Hungary. As Jeffrey Rietveld will come across for his new team, GT Omega. Likely, well, as long as he gets this right, and it's going to, in fact, it's going to be a GT Omega 3-4. This is going to be a fantastic effort for GT Omega. It's GT Omega come across. Rietveld takes the podium in third place with Rasmus Tally in fourth. And what a return this is for Simonchik and Ash Racing. That's a fantastic effort there for Simonchik and Ash Racing. As we then have Parisis. How far behind is he? He was 20-odd seconds down the road, so he will come across in sixth. And then the rest have been lapped. So that's Martin Gosby in 7th, Eros Maskely 8th, John Oak Saxon 9th, Bleders the 10th, Mohamed Patel 11th, Giuseppe Marconi was up to 12th. And then we had the retirements of Giorgio Boldi, Patrick Levitt, Peter Varga, Jack Keithley, George Chantapantis, Faloza, Lachin, Lapala, Canet, Froome, Nilsson, Aten Kuntos, and also his teammate, I can't remember his name now.
Motteram, I think.
Yes, Motteram, that's the one.
But utterly incredible finisher. So they said, people were saying about, Wheat has got this signed, sealed, delivered. We hit the half-season break, and once again, you see Morgan Moran doing donuts. But once again, it's Moran who's made the biggest jump off the half-season, picking up a victory this time in Hungary. And I think it's raced on for the championship, but he could have done that in a more thrilling kind of exit. 0.3 tenths. Of a second separating him from Woodwiss. Jeffrey Rietveld and Rasmus Tally, full praise to GT Omega. And also the man in 5th place as well, Zernesh Simonchik. The man who, it seemed his World Championship day, what a great run by him as well. Jim Parisis supporting his teammate well in first, so another great point tool for Go Speed. So, fantastic race. Honestly, this was exactly what FSR is all about. So, Nick, then, obviously, time of the day. Who's your driver of the day, then?
Ooh, driver day. you would. Okay, I'm going to give it to Morgan Moran, not simply because he was just race winner, but Morgan Moran, he drove flawlessly. He had that moment early on in the race, and he was able to claw all that time back, and to finish off like in the rating form he did. That was fantastic. So Morgan Moran, driver of the day for me.
What about you, Scott?
Well, first of all, we'll go to driver of the day. I have to mention that essentially, going back to the incident between Morand and Huis, I have a very sad and strange feeling that in fact, certain feeling that I think Moran's going to be penalised for that move, because, in all fairness, it's great to see him win the race. In honesty, I actually, as unbiased as possible, I wanted someone other than Huis to win, and it's great to see Morgan take the win. But I do have a feeling he's going to lose that victory, because I think that pass was just way too aggressive. He pushed him far too wide on the exit of the circuit. I'm a Morgan Moran fan, I'll make that clear, and he's a brilliant driver, as is Bono Huis, but I think really the move which Morgan pulled there, we pushed, but Bono had the move made around the outside, just for whatever, it was just Moran was too eager to kind of hold the pass up, and that was basically the result. He just pushed him wide, and I think really, unfortunately, I don't think that victory is going to stand. I think Huis is going to pick a victory by some kind of penalty. In terms of driver of the day myself, I probably have to say, well, the results have gone off my screen now, so I don't actually have them anymore. I would probably say, I think I'd probably have to give it to Jeffrey Rietveld. Reasons because, of course, it's the first time he's driven for GT Omega. It's a different kind of car that he's had to use, and he's had to adapt to it. We obviously know he's a very talented driver, but to go in there first with the new team and grab a podium is pretty awesome. But yeah, overall, even though it's good to see Moran take the checker flag and cross the finish line on track in first place, I have a horrible feeling that victory is not going to stand.
Yes, that is a good point. I suspect that he could cop a penalty potentially for it. He made a defensive move off track, which is pretty much he can't do, and he'd gone around the outside of him already. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did cop some sort of penalty. It'd be unfortunate because he's had a fantastic race day. It's been a fantastic race all round. I still think he's driver of the day potentially, other than that move. I still probably give it to him, but Simoncic is a close second for me because he was phenomenal as well. So yeah, how about you, Liam? Who's your driver?
I would say in terms of the race, purely because not just of the victory, and again that move on Huis did dent it a little, but I think just purely because he was so far behind as well and stuck behind Rietveld, had to gain all that back as well, and actually to take the win, I thought, he was going to catch him maybe and give it a race, but to actually win the race was incredible. But also, possibly Jim Paresis or Simoncic, because they've both driven fantastic races, bringing home big points for the team, especially Ash Racing, who you're not used to seeing in the top 10, so awesome race all round here, and I think pretty well, Jim Paresis, Simoncic and Moran can all have a share in driver of the day.
Okay, and I think on that note from Liam, we can sum up from our broadcast here in the, Hungaria, as it's apparently now called, according to me and everyone else messaging me. So we're going to stick with Hungaria, the Hungara Ring. So we'll sign off from round 7, and we've got to thank our sponsors, Thrustmaster and RC, and of course the broadcaster is simrace.tv. And thank you to Damian Dainhumain, who did the cameras. My co-commentators Liam Jenkins and Scott Woodwiss, and for myself, Nick Rowland. We will see you at round 8 in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.